Hello, everyone. Welcome to Frame Trap. It is hot in this room. It's going to be a long couple of hours.
Should we open the door?
It's too late. We're locked in.
Oh, okay.
We're in this podcast.
I feel like when the breeze comes in, it's like a different vibe in here.
With the sirens, dude.
Maybe we should have a live door opening.
Live door opening.
Let's do it.
I got one.
Yeah, it gets so loose in here.
Well, we got two men on the door opening this podcast. It's probably good. It's probably going to make the show better overall.
Immediate plane right when I open that door.
Yep.
That's waiting.
That's right.
The helicopter waits for Frame Trap to start.
It's getting out of the way.
And then it comes right overhead and just hangs there for a
feel
long
good.
time. Oh, I feel so much better.
It's less.
This was a
rigid.
good call.
Ooh.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Huber. This is great.
Fast and
With
loose.
me, breeze in the hair today, Michael Damiani,
How's it going?
Kyle Bossman.
Hey there. How are you?
What's on your shirt, Kyle?
This is the Buran. This is the Russian space shuttle that was stolen. They stole the design to the U.S. space shuttle. Hilarious. It flew once, unmanned, which was kind of cool because all the U.S. space shuttles at that point did have people in them. Flew once. The space program collapsed. However, at the end of Tetris B-type, if you complete it, and level 9, height 5, you are treated to the flight, a liftoff of the Buran. And
Nice.
so this is a Tetris meme, a Bosman v. Wozniak meme. The shirt was sent to me by the one and only Sweeney.
Kyle, can I tell you something that Bosman v. Wozniak has done for me that doesn't happen as much anymore because of this line of work? So now, a lot of times when we get games and we have to cover them, it's like, okay, you have this much time, play, take notes, and you're being, very analytical about it. You're trying to pick it apart. But when I was a kid playing games, things would get associated with games that had nothing to do with the games themselves, and they made them. It made it more special for me. Maybe I played it with my dad. Maybe it was one of the few games that I played with my dad. That's what's happened with Bosman v. Wozniak, and I think the reason why it's so good is you have these stories. You have these bits that now when I think of Tetris, I think of that, and that's so cool.
You're
that's
right,
such a good way to experience games. Yeah. Michael Huber.
Yo. Does Kyle, are you wearing cologne or something?
Oh, that's my aftershave.
Dude.
Aftershave.
You smell good.
Ooh.
Yeah. Kyle
Wow.
smells good.
All right.
Noticeable.
Do any other allies do aftershave?
That's nice.
No, I've never done.
I've never done aftershave.
I never smell good. I'm keeping this
It's
aftershave.
pleasant.
That's cool.
I sat down after I opened the door when the breeze started coming in. I sat down and got a whiff of it.
Yeah.
It's like, that's pleasant.
Boy, opening this door has revealed quite a bit. All right. I am your host, Ben Moore. If you're not familiar with what Frame Trap is, this is a show where we talk about video games. We love video games. Sometimes that love makes us angry. Another thing about this show, they may not know, first time and long time listeners, this is also the unofficial Yakuza fan podcast.
Yes.
I'd like to open this episode, Michael Huber. Could you tell the audience one reason why they should play Yakuza 0?
Real estate.
Give me more.
You own a real estate agency, co-owner, and you go around town using your hard-earned cash.
Which you use for
Hard-earned.
upgrades.
Yeah. You use this cash not only to level up, to buy things, but also to invest in real estate.
What's the payoff?
There are more than one. There are so many payoffs. There are payoffs of places you buy, of characters you interact with. There's payoffs for completing each zone
Like Monopoly.
of this real estate, because each zone has a leader. So there's the technology leader. You have to challenge him to a game of Outrun. You have to beat his high score. He's like, I like beating people in video games in the arcades. You think you got what it takes to run this real estate? See if you can handle that behind the wheel of Outrun. It's amazing.
Did you beat him your first try?
First try.
Nice.
Because I had been playing Outrun just for fun.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, because I had been in there. I was like, oh, I'll play a couple games of Outrun for sure. And the first couple times, it's man, Outrun's actually kind of hard. Getting that checkpoint for that extra time. So I'd been playing a bunch and remembering the turns and the pathing.
Yeah.
I was ready.
Playing Outrun seeing that screen where you're just at the radio picking your song, like this is going to set the tone for this run.
The checkpoints are so satisfying because when you get a checkpoint in Outrun, it's like plus 80 seconds. So like you get it and you're like, all right, I'm good for a while. It's not like constant, all right, plus 20 seconds, plus 10 seconds. It's like once you get one, it's like, all right, you have access now to this huge leg of it. It's cool.
Another thing that I love about Outrun, the crashes. Because it's not like you just hit it and your car explodes or the sprite just fades. Like you are done. You and your the girlfriend like fly out of the car like rolls around. It's just like this. You're having this good time listening to these sweet tunes going on the road, but then you crash and it's just this horrific scene. Yeah.
And it's hard to make up that time.
It is
from one crash. Whew.
All right, so that's your
Yakuza
Yakuza bit.
I don't like Outrun. I don't like them.
You don't like Outrun?
Them. Never liked any of the games where it's like.
Kyle, what? How do you not? What's not to like?
What about Lucky and Wild? Did you play that one in the arcade?
You know I love Lucky and Wild.
All right, sick.
What do you mean games like Outrun? What don't you like specifically?
So racing games in which there's not an actual first place. Racing games in which you're not in actual cars on the track, but it's just more dumb cars that you run by and like it's just.
You don't like the checkpoint system. You don't like having to get to a certain point in a certain amount of time. Otherwise, you're done.
I mean, that's cool. That's cool.
You gotta get to the end,
right? But I don't feel like it's an actual race. I mean, it's just randomly generating cars on the track, in front of and behind you.
It feels too artificial.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you feel about F-Zero on Super Nintendo? It randomly generates cars.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Boom.
I guess I like
Damiani.
Yeah, I've never played F-Zero on the Super Nintendo, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Hubert, 3 years from now, if Frame Trap is still going, and if we've managed to talk about Yakuza in every single podcast,
I will be happy.
I think the tide will turn against us. I'm worried people are going to get sick of it. But
you know what's perfect, though? Is we only need to ride this for like 3 more months, which really isn't that many episodes. That's like 6 more episodes.
Sure. That's...
Because then we get Kiwami. So it'll be like this rejuvenation. We can start talking about Yakuza Kiwami,
and then
the remake of 1.
And then
and then 6.
Just ride that for another few months.
We'll ride that because people will probably be sick of 0 by then.
Well, and then here's the master plan. We'll roll from Kiwami, and then you know what we'll roll that into? Do you have a guess?
6.
No. Well, 6 probably, yes.
Yeah.
But after 6.
Straight into Shenmue 3.
Straight into Shenmue 3.
It's all just
coasting right in. All right. Thank you for indulging me, panel and audience. We're going to do something a little bit different. Hubert, we always do you last out of the panel for what you've been playing. We're going to start with you first. And you have a big list of games. My writing had to get smaller and smaller as I was trying to like note down what you've been playing. But there were 2 games specifically that you were really excited to talk about.
Yeah.
What are those 2 games?
One of them's really negative. One of them's really positive. Kyle, where are we starting?
Start positive, Hubert.
Start positive.
Start positive.
Outlast 2. Can finally talk about it. I was on the Frame Trap last time and it was still under embargo.
Yeah.
So I couldn't talk about it.
Unleashed.
But, the review is up. If you want to check out the Easy Allies Outlast 2 review, that is on youtube.com/easyallies and easyallies.com.
Oh, boy.
Nice little plug there. You should be happy. Corporate Kyle.
Corporate Kyle's happy.
That's good, right?
I'm pleased.
Good plug.
Yep.
Made sense.
How is human Kyle feel?
Human Kyle's like, Hubert, I want get to the point,
Get
bud.
to Outlast 2.
Get to the point.
Outlast 2 is incredible.
Incredible.
It is incredible.
Incredible?
There were so many times, Kyle, where okay, so usually with horror games, I'm like, man, I really want to stream this with Kyle and like have him check this out. Like, this is so intense. Kyle will freak out. There were so many times when I physically had to set the controller down and take a breath. And during some of those times, I thought in my head, Kyle should never play this.
Whoa.
Kyle should never see this because it's so intense.
I got a question for you with Outlast 2 specifically.
God.
With Outlast 1 and with PT, I feel like in recent years we've done a lot of the I can't believe how scary this is first-person horror games. that intensely focus on shock. It's not that I don't believe you, but from an outside perspective, having only played the demo of Outlast 2, it's hard to understand what is it about Outlast 2 that made you put that controller down. How is it shocking in a way other games haven't been shocking?
Because it is relentless like no other first-person horror game I've played ever.
Give me an example.
It is frigging relentless. I cannot stress enough. Guys. I'm serious. Because I honestly, there's to me there's really two broad types of horror. There's shock value, pop out parts, like even with movies, a lot of PG-13 horror movies will get you with the ha! My brother and I dub them hellos. Hello, because they'll psych you out sometimes. It'll be like a character will hear something and they'll like go in the closet and it'll be like a friend will be there. It's like, hello, John, how are you doing? And it's like, oh, okay.
Oh, you gave me a heart attack, Bill.
John.
Do you and your brother ever like look at each other and go, oh, that's hello?
Yeah,
okay,
totally.
It's a bit. All right, thank you.
And then there's more psychological horror that, stays with you, whether that's
the wailing,
whether that is like, making you think about things or whether it's imagery that
messing with your perception.
Really, messing with your mind, messing with perception. And I honestly will, for me personally, I like to say Outlast is the scariest hello game ever made. The scariest pop-out horror moments in video games, Outlast 1 and The Whistleblower. Mm-hmm. Outlast 2, while it has those moments, it's somewhere in the middle now. It has those pop-out moments, but it really messes with your mind, and it really gets under your skin. And a lot of that has to do with just how relentless and how vulnerable you are in it. Like the setting, it's in the Arizona desert this time. The first game was in a mental asylum. So it was just like claustrophobic, people popping out, crazy deranged lunatics. This one is in the Arizona desert. There's cultists. There's little parts of a village. There's churches. Just a lot more open space, and it never lets up. It is unbelievable how tense Outlast 2 is.
So when no save rooms.
You're never safe in this game. It is insane. It is insane. I can't hype it up enough because people will chase you and the music will pound. It'll be like, doosh, 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 doosh. People are chasing you in a cornfield with flashlights. You're like ducking down in a cornfield. You'll just see like flashlights coming like, I think he's over there. Coming closer. You'll be running. You don't know where to go. Those are the best moments where it's like you're sprinting away and you're like, where do I go? You see like a door. You run in there. You shut the door. You lock it. You like crawl under a bed. Just all these moments never stop. And then finally, like when you get a moment, you're like, okay, I escaped that. Now I'm just straight up in the woods. I'm in the dark, foggy woods. I hear like a branch snap in the corner, like someone's there. They're like, oh, here, like rocks fall over here. Someone's over there. Constantly on edge. It never stops.
So even when there isn't something that is threatening your life, you still feel that pressure. You still feel
because without even Outlast 1, sure. You're vulnerable. You're alone in this situation. You have no friends. You know someone's going to get you. But there are times in Outlast 1, just because of the way you move through the environments, this area is relatively safe. Whereas Outlast 2 is just a constant propulsion going from one place to another. Always vulnerable, always on edge.
That was my question, is that happens to me a lot in horror games where you sort of see the tricks, where you know how it's structured, and even if the game is trying to make you feel on edge, based on past experience with that game about halfway through, that really nothing is going to happen to you here.
Yeah.
But it seems like they keep that illusion going throughout the entirety of Outlast 2. Is it just because they're throwing you in totally different locations all the time? Is it just a constant change in setting?
There's a lot of different locations. There's a lot of just really cool scenarios where you have to get something to progress, or you have to be a little sneaky here. I like that it gives you moments where you can just sprint for it. It's not trial and error, gotta really sneak through this stealthily, get to the door and get in. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, maybe this time you can just like run for it and you'll be being chased. So I really like that kind of ties in where it feels natural to be chased, sprinting through this environment,
Go ahead.
Can I tell you something I really liked about Outlast 1?
Yeah.
So, Ben, the whole time you have this running resource of battery power. Mm-hmm. And you can find new batteries in the environment.
Yeah.
In a happy game, a 3D platformer, there's no real danger to exploring.
Yeah.
In this game,
so much danger.
Yeah, there's so much danger, and so basically the thing that keeps you from exploring is your own fear.
Yes.
The thing that would keep me from looking behind that desk is just how scary it is.
Yeah.
And so you're rewarded for your bravery, not for your sense of exploration, but your sense of, okay, I'm willing to go down that hallway because I need a battery so much.
And I
is that
love
still
that.
involved? Does it still have stuff like that?
Absolutely, because there's like so many houses you can go in. Mm-hmm. But people are patrolling, so it's like, I'm not going to go in there. Like, I just need to get through this area.
Yeah.
When as in 95% of video games, it's like, all right, I'm going to look in this house, comb through it, check everything. Okay, now this one, that like systematic approach.
Right.
This is just get out of here. Get through,
I remember playing the demo for Outlast 2.
Yeah.
And there's a point where you walk over a bunch of baby corpses. Mm-hmm. I think I'm remembering this correctly, something like that. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, that's appropriately freaky, I understand. But a question that I had with Outlast 2, a potential concern, is you have this imagery. You have the mountain of baby corpses. You have the burning crosses. Mm-hmm. Does that stuff feel like it has a point? Is there a narrative that effectively is tying this all together that makes it even more terrifying, or is it just kind of set dressing?
So my criticism in the review was the ending didn't have the payoff that I was hoping for. It never reached that point for me in the end, which was unfortunate. I still enjoyed the characters and the plot leading up to kind of the final bit where, when it's all said and done, it's like, what? Whereas Outlast 1 has a awesome ending. They turn everything on its head and it's like, whoa, that was actually going down.
Right.
2 never really gets there, but the setting and what's going on leading up to the ending is all super engaging and super well done.
And it sounds like in the moment, it's always effective.
Exactly. Yeah.
Michael Damiani, I don't know, thinking about it, I've known you for a long time. I've known you since 2011. I don't know how you feel about horror. I don't know how you specifically feel about horror games. Would we ever catch Michael Damiani playing in Outlast 2?
Probably not. I'm not into horror films, and I'm not into the horror genre in general.
Do you just not like being scared?
It's part of that. It's also part, like you mentioning the whole thing about like being brave and stuff.
Yeah.
That's not the type of like pressure I like to be under in a game.
Yeah.
That generally just makes me, as you said, Huber, just want to rush through.
Yeah.
And I feel like I miss so much things in the game. People are like, oh, didn't you go explore
That's
this?
right.
I'm like I didn't, because I felt like the objective was just to get through alive.
Totally.
You mentioned earlier, you said that this game is just like relentless.
It's relentless.
So my concern is, for a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like just worn out and overwhelmed by it? Like
100%.
Was there a point like, just give me a moment for pity's sake?
Damiani, dude. I said, it's so funny you said that. I immediately said that. I put the controller down at one point. I was like, give me a moment for pity's sake.
What is the reference? What is that?
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
For pity's sake.
I'm not even kidding. I paused this game a few times and like stood up and took a break. Like,
nice.
Games don't do that to me, really. And, again, Outlast 1, like, Whistleblower got me a couple times where I needed to do that. Mm-hmm. Whistleblower has the scariest pop-out moment of all time for me. I've talked about it on podcasts before, where you're kind of at an open point in Whistleblower. You're, like, kind of outside in between the sanitariums, and you hear footsteps on the grass. Then you hear it start running, and and then your character gets pushed down from behind. You get pushed down to the ground. Obviously, cue crazy horror sound effect, like, whee! And you look up, no one's there. I will forever remember that moment. And Outlast 2 doesn't have any one particular moment that's as memorable, but the entire game is one big, relentless, tense-filled moment.
2 questions for you. It sounds like, and more than anyone I've ever met, I've had other friends into horror movies and horror games and stuff like that. I'm into them myself a little bit, but you're just a diehard. You live and breathe this
horror.
stuff more so than anyone else I know. And it seems like it's cool that in the moment it can still affect you so much that you have these moments where you want to step away and take a break.
Yeah.
I want to know if you watch something or play something that really gets to you in that moment. Is it hard for you to sleep that night? Does that happen? Does it have a lingering effect?
No.
Okay.
No, but I'm on edge in the moment and for a little bit after.
Because that still happens to me.
Yeah.
If something really gets under my skin, it'll be hard for me to sleep that night.
The
Which I
scary-
kind of like in a weird way.
The only thing that has made me lose sleep was that MLB 17 The Show glitch.
Oh, God.
The face glitch. I don't know why. I don't know why.
No, it's terrifying.
Like,
Is that scary?
dude.
No, it is.
I don't
It
know.
is. It
Guys,
freaks me out, too.
Yeah,
I'm right there with
here.
you.
I'm ready to play Outlast alone in the dark in an abandoned, house.
Yeah.
You know? I'll go out to the wilderness, play it on the Switch alone.
You're thinking that?
And I think of that MLB glitch, and it gives me the friggin' chills.
We have to contextualize this for people who don't know.
Dude, don't no, because
Yeah,
now
it's
people
too
are
late.
gonna go
It's
look
too
it
late.
up.
Yeah, they
Just
are.
silly. It's a silly thing, though.
It's
No,
not
it's
silly,
disturbing.
man.
It's
It's
silly.
disturbing.
No,
It's
it's
a-
disturbing.
It's a
Don't
glitch.
look it up. I'm
That-
serious.
They put out that video, didn't they? Like, it's just, it was
Yeah.
in development. Like, just
Yeah.
like a. This
and
I
then
just saw it floating around on the internet.
on Twitter, he
internet.
retweeted it, and I caught it on the feed, and I'm not gonna forget it. I was,
Wario got muted that day.
God.
It's this face that's split in half, and it's like there are all these holes in the face,
and
and the eyes
the
are just
beard
sunk
and
in.
the hair on the head,
Yeah.
and the eyes are like blinking.
Yeah. I get nauseous
Me too, I
looking
get
at it for
nauseous.
too long.
I
If I
get
just see
queasy.
a glance at it, I'm not too bad. But if I stare at it, definitely
Freaks
get
me
under my
out.
skin. The other question that I had is comparing this to Outlast 1.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's a more consistent game
Totally.
overall, but it doesn't have that ending payoff.
Yeah.
How would you? Is this strictly a better game than Outlast 1, or is it just a different version
I would say
of Outlast?
overall it's better.
Okay.
Overall, pacing and flow and scenarios, variety. Overall, it's a better game. But looking back with video games and nostalgia is such a weird thing. I always find myself looking back and remembering, that's when the story really comes to light, is when you look back at a game. That connection with events and payoffs. I'm wondering if maybe I'll look back more fondly of 1 because of the way that game ended. But 2, I think, is objectively just overall a better game.
One last question before we move on to your getting down the next thing on your giant list.
Yeah.
We see a lot of people that hear you talk about Outlast or Resident Evil 7, and they say, it sounds really cool, Huber, but it's just not for me. I'm worried about taking that plunge, about feeling that stress. To you, what is the merit of being scared? Why do you chase after it so much?
I love variety. I love the fact that I can play Outlast 2 and be so freaked out and disturbed one moment and then cue up ukulele. Something just joyful and jolly and colorful. I just love the full spectrum of experiences with video games. Like,
The fear makes ukulele jollier.
and the jolliness, and the jolliness makes Outlast scarier.
Yeah,
It's all, they all just kind of collide in on each other, and
So by the broader the spectrum, the more you enjoy each individual thing.
yes.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
All right, what else you got?
So the next one's really upsetting.
Okay.
We gotta bring it down now. The Walking Dead Season 3.
Specifically,
Episodes 3 and 4. You ready
Episodes
for
3
this?
and
So
4.
I'm gonna tell you a little story here.
okay.
Walking Dead season 3. Okay, I went on a Telltale kick about a year and a half, 2 years ago.
I feel like you're always on a Telltale kick.
I know, right? Because I went on this Telltale kick, and I played through Walking Dead season 1 and 2, Tales from the Borderlands,
Yes.
Game of Thrones.
Whoa.
There's one other one, Walking Dead Michonne,
Did you do Wolf Among Us?
Wolf Among Us. Played through all of those games, right?
And enjoyed them.
Batman.
You played through all of Batman
all
too,
of Batman.
Dude? Whoa.
And for the most part, enjoyed all of them, even Tales from the Borderlands, and I don't like Borderlands.
I like Tales from the Borderlands.
Yeah, I love Tales from the Borderlands.
It's a cool game.
So I play through all these, and there's always this nagging issue of Telltale's bugginess and their engine, and that it's dated, and that it's glitchy, and it just doesn't work. So I've been like battling these problems with the engine over that time, you know? And for the most part,
For years.
for years now,
Uh-huh.
you always kind of get it working, you know? You put up with it a little bit, you'll get a couple crashes here and there, but it'll eventually work.
But it only, like, initially, when you're first getting into that Telltale kick, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you kind of,
Had
but
no
the
idea
more
what
that
I
you
was-
play and the more that you get the same problems or even worse problems.
It's frustrating.
Right.
So here we are now, years later.
Yes.
Years later. Walking Dead season 3. Played the first, because they debuted with a double episode for season 3, which I thought was very generous. So generous.
Okay.
The Ties That Bind Part 1 and Part 2, a double premiere. And
That's
I said,
a big
wow.
deal. Unprecedented.
Unprecedented, because
Yeah.
Walking Dead Michonne was originally supposed to be like an expansion that was going to be one episode because, the other Walking Dead season had like the 400 Days, which was a one episode add-on thing where you play as like a couple different people.
Is it just 2 hours when it's a one episode?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So Walking Dead Michonne, it expanded into this 3-part thing, and it was
Oh,
great.
okay.
So it's been a little while since we've checked in on the main season. So here we are, season 3, double episode. But then there was a long wait for episode 3. I think episodes 1 and 2 came out sometime in December, and then episode 3 came out in March.
Okay.
So a big wait. So we get episode 3.
Wait a minute. How did you feel about episodes 1 and 2? Because as somebody who
Yeah.
was up and down on season 2 of Walking Dead.
Me too, yeah.
And really was not feeling Michonne all that much. I liked episodes 1 and 2.
I liked him as well.
I
I
thought
liked
they did a good
Javi.
yeah.
I thought it was cool to like branch out into this different character. You bring Clementine in older, but as a supporting character.
Right.
You're not playing as Clementine in season 3. She's a supporting character that you encounter.
I thought they did a good job of still making her feel important and central to the story while doing enough with these new members to make them interesting and go in a totally different direction.
So Ben, you've
Totally.
been playing season 3 too?
I played episodes 1 and 2.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But then it was such a long gap
So long.
with episodes 3.
Yeah.
Did episodes 3 and 4 come out at the same time?
4 was 1 week later.
Okay. So
Oh, we're going to get into it.
okay.
Because I'm effing pissed.
What happened?
Okay.
What's the story?
Season 3, right? Okay, I want to first talk about
Okay.
gaming habits. I think this is a good topic, gaming habits, because, I'm going through Persona 5 right now, but anytime I want to play Persona 5, I need a minimum of 2 hours, obviously.
Absolutely,
You know,
yeah.
you can't just, hop into Persona for 30 minutes. No.
Wouldn't feel right.
Wouldn't feel right. You need 2 hours. And I need a comfortable 2 hours. It's not, if I have something coming up or if something's going on in the day that I know, I'm going to be like nervous, anxious.
You want to
playing.
do the my day is over, I'm going to spend a few
gonna-
hours with this. Yeah, I get that. I totally understand that.
So that's why I've been playing a lot of games because I've had these other obligations, It's like, I might need to meet up with somebody in anywhere from an hour to 4 hours. I could play Persona, but what if he calls in an
Right.
hour?
That's a Puyo Puyo Tetris
Totally.
time slot. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, Walking Dead. I haven't played episode 3 yet. This is perfect. I got a couple hours to fill.
Yeah.
Go to queue it up. Ready to go, got my day planned out. Sit down, ready to play. Infinite loading screen. Okay?
How long did you give it?
Yeah.
5 minutes. 5 full minutes. Because the music was playing. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, the music's still
Oh,
playing.
okay. Yeah.
Didn't like bug out or anything.
Sure.
Back out.
Close application.
Close it. I'm like, what the hell, maybe it's just maybe it's a glitch. I'm a PC gamer. I've played PC games my whole life. This is nothing new. Like, this happens. back out, hop back in. Infinite loading screen. So I'm getting a little frustrated. I'm like, come on, man, I just want to play this. Like, time's running out. Dude, my friend could call, and I'd like to just, get through this. Try a third time, nothing happens. So I look it up. I'm like, what the hell? Google it, Of course, first thing that pops up, Walking Dead Season 3, Episode 3 won't load. Forum. Reading through. This is, the best, too. You read those forum posts. They're like, are we still dealing with this shit, Telltale? Like, what is going on? What the hell? I just want to play the game that I purchased with my money.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
Can I do a Tales from the Borderlands one real quick?
Yeah.
So it's like one of the first commands is an up, but the way they did those is they're kind of like curved ups.
Yeah.
And so I did like a curved up and I failed it and died. And I thought the game, for the rest of the game, was permadeath.
Yeah.
Because I had an infinite loading screen after my death. So I died and it didn't load a new game.
So you're like, oh, start over.
It was my first ever Telltale game. I'm like, oh, are these games permadeath? Whoa. And so like, the rest of the game, I'm so stressed about dying because of that one failed prompt that didn't load afterward.
When you say a curved up, you mean they have these QTEs and you had to do a curved motion.
Yeah.
But it's really just up. You're just supposed to hit up.
Yeah.
But for some reason, they made their arrow a little stylish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just thought, this is it for me.
Yeah, it's so good.
And so I didn't come back to it for a while because I was so stressed out about that. I thought, like, how do people do this?
It's okay.
So, okay, anyway, yeah.
So
infinite loading.
Infinite loading multiple
And
times.
was there any solutions that seemed...
They're like, yo, talk to tech support. They said if you just re-download it, it'll load.
Uninstall.
So I uninstall and reload and have to download that. And that's no easy task. That takes like 15, 20 minutes, So now, like...
With a great connection.
With a great connection.
Yeah.
I'm wired.
Yeah.
I got good internet.
Pulling out all the stops.
Pulling out all the stops. So I'm like, my day's shot. So now I just, like, go watch a TV show. Because I'm, like, fed up. I'm downloading. I don't know when my friend's going to call. I'm just like, I'm going to go watch something, So I go watch Into the Badlands. Okay. So I come back the
action
next
show on AMC.
The action show on AMC that's
Okay.
martial arts
Yeah.
themed.
While you're watching Into the Badlands, are you seething this entire time? Or is it still kind of gnawing at you
No,
a
because
little
Into the
bit?
Badlands is so badass.
It kind of washes away.
That looks like the dumbest show. Is it really good?
It's super good.
Whoa.
It's really good martial arts.
How
And
do
it
you
has
do a martial arts TV show?
and
That's
it
so
has-
weird.
Yeah, and it has a lot of good characters.
Huh.
Yeah.
Worth checking out.
Worth checking out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
For sure.
Okay.
And I always love when seasons get better than the last. Season 1 is only 6 episodes, so
Okay.
it's really easy to catch up.
Yeah.
Season 2 is a huge step up. It has the Hot Fuzz friend.
Yeah, I saw him on the
main
trailers. Yeah.
He's really hilarious, and it's just really good dynamic with him and the main character. The main character is really like serious, brooding, and he's like self-serving comedy relief kind of.
Yeah.
But not over the top and not constantly. I love comic relief when it's restrained, when it's like, I'm that comic relief, witty banter side character, but I'm not gonna do it in every scene. I'm gonna do it like once in a while. Anyway. Come back the next day. So I'm ready to go. I'm like, all right, I really want to see what happens in this. Like, I'm ready to go. Telltale, let's go. I want to finish this, 2 hours. Nice little... It's almost like watching a TV show. That's why I watch so much TV, because you know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
You know that if you sit down for a couple hours, you're going to need you're going to need a meal with these Telltale episodes, So it loads. I'm going through. Crashes. 20 minutes in. Full freeze crash. Boots me to the main menu. I'm like, oh my god.
Wait, the PS4 main
The
menu?
PS4, the suggested problems,
Oh, okay.
error code, W dash.
Yep.
So I'm like, all right, whatever. There was one. I'll go back in, have to rewatch some of the conversation, repick my dialogue options.
At this point, I think I would have just been...
Crashes again.
So...
And again. And again. Then
Hold on.
at different times. 6 times.
No, you...
6. I counted. Walking Dead season 3 episode. This is after infinite loads, re-downloading. 6 crashes. 6 times. You know, and I am seething at this point.
Sure.
I'm so frustrated. I can't I'm like doing heavy breaths. But by the time it's all said and done, because then I finally got to play the last hour with no crashes. By the time it ends, I'm like, okay, I got through it fine. It was a little rough. But that ending, now I'm interested to play episode 4, which, just came out.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
A few questions. With the crash, I mean, did you have to start completely over? There wasn't any...
It autosaves before each chunk.
Yes.
So I'd have to do this conversation over and over.
I see.
That was like a 2.5-3 minute part of him walking through town, do this dialogue option, do this dialogue option.
That patience.
Did you look and see if the crashing was?
No, at this point I was just like the Telltale.
If it was me and I was in your situation, I would be so annoyed. 6 crashes. I mean, that's a lot.
Insane.
As I was going through it, I'd be so worried about it crashing that it would detract from my ability to kind of absorb conversations and get immersed in what I was playing.
I was distracted. But then the last little bit, I was like, okay, maybe it was just a rough episode, So flash forward a couple days to last night. Episode 4. Okay. I forgave it because I'm a forgiving person. Okay? I was like, Telltale, you had your problems, whatever. Episode 3, I'm still engaged. I'm still interested to see where the story goes.
Yeah.
I'm committed.
Episode 4.
So last night, I go out with my grandma, meet up with Brad, hang out, see my friends.
You're thinking about 4?
I had already watched all my TV. Was caught up.
You're in a good mental place.
I'm in a good mental place. So I didn't have any TV to watch, and it was late. I might have come home and been like, oh, I'm going to watch, something. But I had already watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., had already watched Gotham, had already watched Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
Had nothing to go to. So I'm like, all right, perfect. This is why I play Telltale games, because I can play this episode 90 minutes to 2 hours and then sleep easy, feel like I completed something. That's why it's
I do get
the
that.
episodic,
Absolutely,
I used to be against it, but I like it because it's a self-contained thing. So I go to play episode 4 and what happens, guys?
Infinite load.
Infinite loading again! Episode 4 now! Back out! Quit to main menu, try again. Put on boost mode. I'm like, yo, I need the boost. I need that boost, PS4.
Why isn't boost mode already on?
I don't know, because it freaks me out with yo, if you experience problems, turn it off. So I don't keep it on all the time. I don't know.
All right. Keep boost mode on.
So I put boost mode on.
Give me the boost.
Give me the boost. Infinite load.
The boost does nothing.
Infinite load 3 times. I hang it up. I'm done. I'm thinking about just hard quitting Telltale altogether at this point.
Now, have you had significant problems even approaching this level with past Telltale games?
Never this level.
Okay.
Because I've always heard of the problems. I've experienced the problems. There have been glitches and bug outs.
Have there been crashes before?
There have been crashes for sure. Batman and Game of Thrones. Yeah, it's all.
But
crashed.
nothing so persistently.
Nothing this insane.
Yeah.
Especially for their flagship franchise.
Right.
The Walking Dead is the one that put them on the map. The Walking Dead is the one that won Game of the Year. The Walking Dead is the one that gets all the acclaim. It's their main game. Season 3. It's just inexcusable. And it just bummed me out. I wasn't even pissed. I wasn't even angry. I was just sad. I went to sleep uneasy.
I got a bet. I think the next game Telltale announces will use its new engine.
Let's hope so.
Okay, the game after the next one. That's my bet. Game after the next Telltale game uses a new engine.
Wolf Among Us Season 2.
But at that point, I think Huber brings up a really good thing where he says, Walking Dead Season 3, this means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah.
At that point, are we past the point where it's too late? Even if they come out with a new engine and say, hey guys, we're moving past this flaming pile of wreckage.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I would care all that much.
I think one thing I like about video games is that I do believe it's never too late.
It's never too late.
I think that people are
I don't
willing
agree with
to
that.
like Konami in 2017. We're willing to forgive Konami because they put out Bomberman. And so like I think you can steer things around if your games are fun. People will forgive you if you.
I think there's
make a change.
there's this dissociative thing with video game companies and games. If Devil May Cry 5 comes out and it's amazing, 10 out of 10 game, whatever, people will still hate Capcom. Any little mistake that Capcom makes, they'll be like, of course Capcom did this.
Yeah.
But they will love Devil May Cry 5. I don't necessarily... I think... I don't know. I think people hold grudges with companies, not games necessarily.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
I do. I think it's always fixable. I think you can cancel out a grudge. I think if you...
Do you think Hello Games will be able to cancel out their grudge?
Yes. If they put out a good game. I mean, that's really the thing. Telltale would have to make good games to get people to like them again.
You're in a hole, you got to dig yourself out.
But I do. I think Hello Games could absolutely make a new game that people like and then say, oh, this is what they should have done the first time. Thank you. And I think, honestly, a big part of it is how you face your community and how you face the audience at large. You got to say, we effed up. We messed up. And that's what Telltale has to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have to say, Huber, we're sorry your game crashed 4 times. We're doing something about it.
Yeah.
Here's our new engine. And then I think people will forgive you.
Oh, God. And I think of the Resident Evil 7 DLC getting delayed. It's that just communication.
Yes. Yeah.
Keep the lines of communication open, and you will be forgiven. I'll forgive you every time. You come out and you say, hey, we know. We're sorry. Like, give me a face and not just some corporate text on a screen. Oh, in an interview, or in a tweet, they said, we understand there's bugs. Sorry. Put a face out there. Say, we apologize. We are sorry.
The face is so important because you saw the director in that video.
Yeah.
Right.
And he looks so bummed.
The director, the executive producers,
looks so sad.
everyone high level involvement.
And you can't feel mad. You see that expression, and as a human being, you can't feel mad at them.
Yeah, it's like, take your time.
Yeah.
We get it. Cool.
It's free DLC.
Free DLC. Take your time.
Take your time.
Delay it till 2018. Fine.
Yep.
We get it.
Not a hero.
Yeah. But this... it's and don't
Who's
get
the
me
face
wrong.
of Telltale, right? Like
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who's the face?
No idea. Faceless
I feel
entity.
I feel like Telltale is in this weird spot for me, though, personally, where I'll have you say, this is really good. You should play it. Tales from the Borderlands. You like it.
Yeah.
I even love Game of Thrones.
We are notoriously against Borderlands in this group.
Yeah.
Bizarrely against Borderlands.
And Tales of the Borderlands was awesome.
I feel like I could have so many people just say, hey, Tales from the Borderlands is good, but there's this weird thing with Telltale that I don't experience with anyone else, where I feel like I'll play Tales from the Borderlands, and I just have this wall where it's like, I've done this, and even if it's good, it just won't resonate because I've played multiple seasons of Walking Dead. It's because I've played Wolf Among Us. Because I've played Batman, where it's just the sameness of it all is preventing me from enjoying it, even if it is really good.
They need...
And when you have that on top of all of these technical things, it's not just a bad game.
Totally.
It's either a bad game or a good game in the exact same way. Like I just don't feel anything for it anymore because I've been through it.
I agree.
So many times.
I agree with you. They need a change.
It's not even anger. It's just apathy.
Yeah.
At this point.
I used to be way more excited. Like Tales from the Borderlands or Guardians of the Galaxy we're going to talk about later.
Yeah.
And again, this last 2 years I've been on that Telltale kick. I would have been there day one. But now I'm like, maybe I'll get to it when it's all out.
Right. That's exactly what I'm feeling as well. 2 years
Yeah.
ago, if you announced a Telltale Guardians of the Galaxy game, my entire perception and attitude toward it would have been totally different.
Yep.
But based on the history of this company and the types of game that they make, it's like, maybe if I get around to it, if I have nothing else to do, there's not this excitement anymore.
Yeah.
So what going back to them announcing a new game on a new engine, I can totally see that happening again. What would that Telltale game have to be to create that level of excitement, to create that immediacy?
So Ben, you're saying you want more. You don't want to see the 4 choices in the bottom middle. You don't want to see somebody remember that upper left. You want way more than top of that even. I'm saying they won't do that.
And they've gotten rid of their even like walking around in each episode.
You don't walk around
you
anymore?
still do that. But it used to be way more like, all right, break, walk around this environment, look at the clues, do all that. I feel like it's way more focused because they're doing the crowd play thing now, where it almost plays itself. there's a lot more just cutscenes, pick the choice, cutscene, pick the choice. Like, there is a little bit of walking around, but from my time with Season 3 of Walking Dead, it's far less, far less than Seasons 1 and 2 of break, talk to people, investigate. So.
Well, there's also this seed of doubt that I think has been planted with Telltale. I remember playing Walking Dead Season 1, and the way that they presented it, you know, Clementine will remember this. This character will remember this. That illusion of choice worked for me. I could buy into it because it was presented in a very specific way. But as time has gone on, that illusion has been broken down for me, and I've gone back and I've played through it multiple, like Wolf Among Us, Walking Dead Season 2, where I'm like, this choice didn't matter all that much.
Yeah.
You presented it like it had a ton of weight, but I'm kind of getting the same overall story in different things. And so when they come out with a new series, when they come out with a Batman, when they come out with Guardians from the Galaxy, because I've played through different things and been like, oh man, my choices didn't really matter all that much, it makes me doubt whatever new thing that they have.
Totally.
Tales from the Borderlands, I think, has a really cool meaning behind the relationships you have at the very end.
Okay. Yeah. Sell me on that, if you can, without ruining it.
Sure. I'll just say there's a moment right before the climax. You know this is going to be the climax of the story. And the characters that you have relationships with will be there with you if you develop strong relationships with those people. And so if they're not, they're grayed out. And it's like, oh, well, you didn't talk to that person enough, or you didn't do this thing with that person, or that thing with that person. And so I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
And so then those people who you did like and you did say funny things to are with you for this final part of the game. I think that's really cool. I think that's a good implementation of a multiple choice kind of game. You get the ending you wanted with the people you wanted. And I think that's a powerful use of the options that a game like that gives you.
Yep. Who knows if we'll play episode 4?
You're playing it. That's another bet I would make. You're playing that.
It's like,
you're playing it, dude.
They don't even patch it.
You're going to get 6 patches. You're going to keep playing.
They don't even care.
Why would they? They got your money.
Yeah. Because everyone just buys the season pass.
Whatever. Do you think this is upset you enough on principle to not see the season 3, to not spend any more money?
I mean, I already bought the season pass.
Oh, you're
locked in.
I see. So you're gonna jump through whatever hurdles necessary to finish.
I
the
guess
story.
I've already played 2.5 seasons at this point. You know, I have 2 more episodes to finish. It's just crazy, and it's not. You know, again, if this was a first time thing, I would be way more forgiving. But the build up over the last 2 years, you know, has got me.
Just because we're on the topic, I do actually want to break a little bit, and I want to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy.
Sure,
Telltale,
it makes sense too. Yeah.
Which you and Damiani have played.
Yep.
Damiani played it?
Yeah, he sat for the whole thing.
What?
Yep.
How is it? How was that? I did not watch that playthrough. I don't know anything about the game.
So it's real bad.
Okay. Why? Why is it bad?
So, I think you're Telltale, right? You have this license. I think the first question you need to answer to your audience, to the person playing this game, is why are you doing Guardians of the Galaxy? You have to channel what is fun about Guardians of the Galaxy immediately. Why should this game be about Guardians of the Galaxy? It's not just picking up a comic book of the month of Guardians of the Galaxy and flipping through it, right? This is a big initiative. You got Guardians of the Galaxy. What are you doing with it? How are you implementing it? And I would say the implementation is just surface. It's just, oh, here's those characters. They're having a story now. It bums me out. The Guardians of the Galaxy are weird. They're a bunch of weirdos. They're not cool. They're not cool space heroes. They're weird space heroes. If you think of how good the original... Was it a screen test, Huber? With John C. Reilly?
The screen test.
Was that a screen test?
I think so, yeah.
Where they're all lined up.
Yeah.
And it's like, who are these a-holes?
Yeah.
And like...
Well, it's in the movie, but it was like the first trailer did it in a way where it was like all seamless.
Yeah. Everyone immediately liked the Guardians of the Galaxy after that introduction of those characters. that all of that is missing from the introduction of those characters here, where it's kind of like, you already know who these guys are, right? Here's Rocket being snappy. Here's Groot saying, "I am Groot."
So it sounds like they're relying on this idea that you already think they're cool, so they don't have to put in that effort to make you excited.
Yeah, and also doing nothing to make them weird. Think of the first scene of Guardians of the Galaxy where it's Star-Lord in that, I think it's like a cave, and he's just splashing around and having a good time.
Yeah. That's probably my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Yeah, and that's weird and fun.
Yeah.
That's a weird, fun scene, and that's what you need to implement. I think when you're first pitching this game, when you're first brainstorming, you're like, how do we bring that into this video game?
Yeah.
And instead it's, okay, how do we bring these 5 characters who are in the movie into our story and raise the stakes?
I know you got to get it out before Guardians 2.
I'm
capitalize,
sure you're right.
You got to get it out.
And here, I'm sure there was a time limit. I'm sure that was a big factor.
Yep.
But and this is in trailers, this is in everything, you run into Thanos in the first 10 minutes. One of the most huge Marvel villains
of all time.
Of all time, you're battling
currently.
within the first 10 minutes of that game.
And how does that feel? How do they present that? This
Does it
thing
go
that
back?
has been
Does it say
built
like
up in the movie.
Does it say like 40 hours?
I thought it was going
earlier?
to do that. It does not do that.
my
I thought it
God.
would actually. Totally doesn't.
I mean, it came off as goofy. And I want to just elaborate more on the point of them expecting you to already know the Guardians and be like okay with them. This game is not in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
It's based on the comics. So that they're trying to bring you in on, hey, you've seen the movie, you know who they are. And then the game, they kind of look the same, but not exactly. There's like a little bit of like a difference here and there. It was like, I'm not sure if this, and in chat clarified for us, no, it's based on the comic. But like the writing and the whole introduction of Thanos, I was like, wait a second. They can't possibly be doing this if this is tied in with the movie. This makes no sense whatsoever. So I feel if you're coming in it with that perspective, which is you assume you already are established with the Guardians of the Galaxy, if you're just like a casual fan like me, you have some expectations going into it, and it's kind of shattered pretty quickly, and it felt just awkward and jarring to see the characters interacting with each other how they were, and the writing was not the best. There was a lot of times where we were trying to be like funny, and it just really missed the mark. I think there was only one time there was a genuine laugh in there. It was like a Dax line or something that made me laugh like legitimately.
Dax Shepard's in the game,
and that was it.
Dax Shepard's in it?
No. Damiani meant Drax.
Oh, Drax. Sorry.
I'm excited
Wait, are you a Dax?
Trolling you.
Are you a Dax Shepard fan?
because of Parenthood.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah,
recently
absolutely.
watched all of Parenthood.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah.
But specifically the Thanos part, the battle just lacks tension.
Yes.
It's
should be huge. You're battling Thanos.
Yeah,
yes.
and again, especially if you're coming from the movies, like they've been like this. And I think you earlier something you mentioned about Huber, the ranked list of the worst villains. Like Thanos been trying to get Infinity Stones for like ever, blah blah blah, and like he just shows up and they have like a melee style fight. I was like, wait a second. Even in the comics, isn't this guy supposed to be super powerful?
He should be flicking them away.
What? How is this even a battle? How is this even close? It was just so disillusioning to me. It just did not draw me in at all. And from that point on, I was like, I don't know if I can buy this story. Like, it's gonna be, you have to do a lot to bring me back into this after that setup. I get why they tried to go with that. Wow factor, woo, Thanos. Like, people will definitely be on board for this. But it's just not done very well at all. And I think that hurts the rest of the episode. He's just constantly thinking back to that moment.
Just what you guys are saying, and from what I said earlier, it feels like Telltale is just lazy right now. It's like a laziness.
Right.
In terms of their storytelling.
And we're sure it's not lazy, right?
It's
we're
not
sure
lazy.
They're probably working their butts off.
Yeah,
They're working their butts
yeah.
off.
That actually hits on a pet peeve of mine that I want to talk about. I get why people say it. I understand the sentiment, but calling somebody a lazy developer, I think, is a very bad way of explaining something else, because we don't understand the circumstances behind the thing.
For sure, but I don't understand, like, if something's broken, why do you not even comment or patch it or fix it? You know? Like, it's not like, oh, that's just bad writing.
Right. And
it's like, yo, your game is not working.
Right.
Like, you have my money.
And I can't play this.
Yeah. So I just, and episode 3 is what, weeks old now, and it's no patch, no word.
And the thing is,
that to me is lazy by not like addressing the issue. I even went on their Twitter. I was like looking for any anything.
These tech problems have been happening since before Walking Dead Season 1. People have been having problems trying to play Telltale games. Then we go through it with Walking Dead Season 1. Then we go through it with Walking Dead Season 2. Then we go through it with Wolf Among Us. Then we go through, like, I have no attachment to this anymore.
Yeah.
Because, like you're saying, there isn't this clear resolve to make it better. Mm-hmm. There isn't that face saying, "Hey, we're gonna do right by the people that care about our games." Yeah. And because that isn't there, I'm not gonna care. And here's the other thing that
it's crazy because I care. Right. My God, I just bought like 7 of your games in the last 2 years. I'm a huge fan, and I feel devalued.
Yeah. Because that's the message they're sending. Yeah. How else are you supposed to interpret that? Yeah. And there was a comment that somebody said, I think on our Gundam building stream, that I was trying to reconcile. They said Mass Effect Andromeda, like, as somebody who's beat it, it's much better than you make it out to be. Because I was playing the 10-hour trial. I was just like, this is not grabbing me. I'm out. And I said, I think it was on a frame trap, the broader your experiences, the more you give things a chance, the happier you'll be. Mm-hmm. And so I was trying to reconcile that with my hard drop of Mass Effect Andromeda and my apathy toward Telltale. And I think it's because of the time that we're in. I'm not able right now to sufficiently play all of the things that are amazing. Mm-hmm. All of the things that I've gotten a taste of and that have really impressed me immediately, that aren't broken, that feel like they're valuing my time. Yeah. And so because of this weird first half of this year that we've been, that's been so exceptionally good, why would I prioritize things that I have to make excuses for, or I have to leap through all these hurdles of, when there's so much goodness that I'm not properly already getting to? That's a much different thing.
And I think, Ben, it's kind of like what you're trying to hint at earlier, I think, is that Telltale games haven't changed from when they got that Game of the Year for Walking Dead.
Right.
Same.
They've not evolved because they didn't think they had to, and they probably didn't. They were making money that whole time, and people are getting excited that whole time. But other games have progressed since that time. I think that's a really, I think it's what's happening right now. You got to be better.
Yeah, you got to be better, Telltale. Like, I played your game with my valuable time, and you burned me multiple times. I'm looking on my PSN dashboard. Persona, Neo, all these games.
Nier.
And I chose you. I chose to play The Walking Dead with my time. Like you were saying, like, there's so much right now. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't work.
And like you were saying,
just wasted my day.
It's like they have the world, right? People care about Clementine. People care about the story of The Walking Dead. If this game just worked and continued that story in a meaningful way.
Like, how cool is that? Season 3, my choices are still carrying over? This is awesome. Yeah. Like, I feel invested in this.
Huber, I think we have to move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
We gotta have something that I think is making you feel
a whole podcast on Huber's 2 games.
Sorry. Telltale.
No, but I like that it branched off.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But I'm thinking, like, you could have a functioning podcast where 3 people interview Huber every week.
Oh, absolutely.
It would be like, that podcast would work. Yeah.
Like, tell me the story of you sitting down on the couch this week. Yeah. All right. What else? I've got a list if you need a reminder. You've got stories.
Stories, the path of Destinies.
He's on board.
A PS Plus giveaway a little while ago. The reason I played this was because, again, I just didn't know how much time I had. It was a moment that I could sit down.
Huber, I've never heard of this game. What is it?
Yeah.
So this is a roguelike isometric view where you are like a fox. You're a fox character, Ronaldo, and it's like an action game where you go through. There's 5 stages. You go through and you make choices. That's the narrator is narrating this whole thing. He's doing the voices for all the characters, and the narrator is.
So it's like a book on tape?
It's like a book. It's like this book opens and you're going through, and after each time you finish a stage, you have the choice of what your character wants to do. And by going through multiple times, you're learning more and adapting, what you want to do. And the whole point is to unlock the truth. So by unlocking the 4 truths, there's like 25 stories by going through this. 25 different outcomes. Around 25. There's 25-ish. Different outcomes going through this. And when you unlock the 4 core truths, then you can go through and get the true ending. And it was just a fun little game. The reason I played it was, one, because it was on my Plus and I got it. And it was really short. I knew I could beat it in like a day or two. It's a really, really short game. It's like 4 or 5 hours. Just to get the true ending. And I'd seen it on a somebody's top 10. I don't know who it was, but I was looking at Game of the Years for 2016.
Somebody put that in their top 10?
Somebody put it in their top 10. I forget who it was. It was somebody on maybe GameSpot or something. They had it in their top 10, and I remember reading the entry. I was like, that sounds actually really fun. I love a good roguelike.
It was Dax Shepard's top 10.
It was Dax Shepard.
The structure sounds so interesting. How long did it take you to get?
The whole game, it took me like 4 or 5 hours.
Okay.
Very
But
short.
you got all
but
the
I
4
didn't
truths?
got the 4 truths and the true ending, so you have to beat it a minimum of 5 times. But if you want to get everything, you can beat this thing a bunch of times because there's just enough there to keep you engaged. You have 3 skill trees to unlock different abilities. There's 4 weapons, 4 different swords with different abilities that you can buy and level up. So there's enough to kind of find and level up and invest in with the hunting for the main story to go through this whole 4 or 5 hour thing. And controls are really simple. It's kind of like Batman Arkham fighting without the complexity that the Arkham games get later on.
Top down, dude?
Yeah, top down, just like square.
And your character bounces around the environment?
You bounce around. Square is attack. You can there's attack and counter, and then you get some special abilities with each of the 4 swords. But then you have a really cool dash. You have like a X's dash. I love a good dash in a game, like air dash and normal dash.
To close distance or to dodge roll?
Both.
Okay.
So you can like dash to get out of there or dash to close in because some of the guys will teleport away. But yeah, just a fun little game. It was on PS Plus. I'm sure a lot of people have it just because of that.
These are my favorite types of games to hear about on PS Plus or games with gold that you probably wouldn't have given this your money or your time, but because you have this service, you get to check it out. It just warms my heart.
Totally. I remember seeing it on the PlayStation blog before it came out. I was like, oh, that looked cool, but then just didn't buy it. I think it was like $20 or something. Just didn't get around to it. So then when it was on Plus, I was like, oh, cool. Scooped it up. Saw it on that guy's top 10. Went through it. So yeah.
Damiani, do you have PlayStation Plus?
I do.
How often do you actively use that service to check things out?
None. I really don't. In fact, if my credit card wasn't on there, it auto renewed for it. I freaked out. Actually, got an email saying someone purchased something on PlayStation
For
Network.
$60.
I was like, wait. I was like, okay, what's going on here? And I was like, not by a computer, so I was like, crap. I don't know what I'm gonna be able to check this.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking about, I was like, maybe it just auto renewed my PlayStation Plus.
Yeah.
I'm gonna default to that. And when I got home, I was like, yep, there it is. And I got free 2 months apparently with it as well. On top of that, somehow.
Probably the outages. The outages, maybe?
Something like that. It's like, here's a code to claim your free 2 months. I was like,
nice.
Cool, 14 months of PlayStation Now. But or PlayStation Plus.
Do you just feel like you have enough occupying your time already that you don't need to?
I mean, I've kind of glanced every now and then at what they have, and it's either something I've already played, and it's like, I don't need to play that again, or no interest. Some people are telling me next month, May, there's a lot of good games, though, that are going to be on it. I saw, some site said that the lineup for May for PlayStation Plus looks stellar. And I was like, well,
stellar, dazzling.
Come
Dazzling
May 1st, I'm going to be checking that out.
Can I go ticket on this? Can I look it up?
Yeah, take a look.
Okay.
There's always rumors.
Huber,
you never know.
We are an hour into the show.
Yeah, let's go.
I'll throw something else at you on your list.
Bulletstorm, played Bulletstorm
Okay, you got it. You're
on stream. The Bulletstorm remaster, where you get to play as Duke Nukem. Streamed this, and then went through a bunch more, basically finished the game just on my own, because I'd already put 2.5 hours in. And Duke Nukem, I'm a fanatical Duke Nukem fan growing up.
Fanatical.
I was. I had a Duke Nukem huge poster in my bedroom.
Would you consider cosplaying as Duke Nukem?
Not anymore. It was a childhood thing. And every time Duke resurfaces, whether it's Duke Nukem Forever or this, you realize that he is such a product of his era, the 90s.
Mm-hmm. I really think you could use him.
Yeah, this
Wait a minute.
Give me hope.
I want to write a Duke Nukem game.
But you have to kind of change the way he is.
Would this Duke Nukem be self-aware, or is he...
No. You don't change the way he is. You change the way everyone around him is. Duke Nukem stayed the same since the 90s.
That's what this was, which made it pretty funny. But still, there were times when the chat and I were cringing. There were times when he would say something and everyone was
never cringe, Hubert.
Dude,
never cringe.
There were parts that people in the chat were like, that would make me uninstall. I'd be done right here. Right now.
What needs to be said is that is also Bulletstorm. That is the kind of humor that Bulletstorm has.
But it would be like his dialogue. Like they would say something and then he would say, a genital joke or
okay, you're right. You're right. I guess I would make some changes.
People were like, dude, I'm out here. But then there were parts that were killing us because he was so aloof, because the only dialogue that's changed is his, nobody else's. So they keep calling him Grayson, which is the main character. And he's like, who the hell is Grayson, So it's like this whole time he's really aloof and confused, which is a funny Duke Nukem, a Duke that is so... just like, what the hell is going on? And there were parts when he would like sacrifice, like he jumped in front of a bullet, like to save a guy, and it's like, why is Duke Nukem doing that?
I'm actually super into this idea where he's kind of superimposed on this other character and is going through the motions and occasionally acknowledges that he's just doing this, but he doesn't understand why. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
So there were parts that funny. It made me want another Duke Nukem game, and it made me want another Bulletstorm because I played that when it came out, loved it. And, it still holds up. But at the same time, I was like, would a Bulletstorm 2 work right now? Because this is like a 6-7-year-old game, and it totally feels like that. I mean, there's turret parts.
You know what I think it would need is multiplayer.
There is a multiplayer. There's like a co-op type thing.
I think it honestly would need this weird competitive multiplayer that's like Horse, where you have the same environment in a certain amount of time and you have to like get a higher score than the next person. No. Dude, it's got to be team-based multiplayer for it to sell.
I think Bulletstorm just needs a new message because Bulletstorm was a game that when it was coming out, I mean, they sent the press kits in like raw meat or something.
Yeah.
And there was the trailer where it was all like
I think I worked on this. The press kits was orange juice, right?
No idea.
Everything about Bulletstorm felt like this big gimmick, and I was so frustrated because I remember playing Bulletstorm, going through it and loving it because finding creative solutions and the game forcing you to kill things in different ways and giving you means to set up all of these elaborate traps and sequences, it was really cool. It felt kind of like a first-person, like Deception, the trap games where you're setting up all those traps. That's what it felt like. It felt like an evolution of that, and it was a creative first-person shooter at a time, especially where there weren't a lot of those.
Exactly.
And that's all I want. I just want Bulletstorm 2 to focus on the cool stuff.
I don't like the sense of humor, but I appreciate that it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Sure, that's fine.
And that's what I love about it, is that it's just this wacky, score points, be creative type of first-person shooter.
But I haven't revisited it. Does it still feel as fresh and interesting as it did when it came out? Like, does that stuff still work for you mechanically?
Totally. I mean, it's a little more simple now because it's like there's only so many things you can do with the weapons. And like kicking people into cactuses or electrical power lines. There's only so many things.
There's room for growth.
But yeah, I mean, it's a fun game.
With two things. I really don't like this game.
Bulletstorm?
Yeah. The idea that you have like limited creativity with your kills, that's okay. But the idea that some are worth more points, and so like the more creative you are, the more points you get, the better upgrades you can buy. That totally negates the creativity to me.
Well, because you can upgrade everything so fast. You don't even need points.
Sure, but they assign points to it.
For sure.
And so to me, it's limiting. It's saying, hey, you're doing it wrong if you're just shooting those people.
Yeah.
And so it's not creative. It's like, this is actually this is the best way to kill somebody.
You remind me of a conversation I had with Rob Slusser, former Game Trailers
And I'm Rob in this situation?
You're Rob in this situation.
Uh-oh.
Because he said that he really hated in games like Bayonetta or Devil May Cry the rating system. He hated beating
that.
something
This is different.
and then getting a stone statue or a D.
Yeah.
He's like, man, that robbed all satisfaction I have of completing it. But I've never had that feeling with those
I want to
systems.
go from a separate side, though, because
Okay.
it is about creativity. It's like get your creative kills on. So imagine if you just start Zelda Breath of the Wild, and it's like, go anywhere. But if you go here, that's 10,000 points. That's what Bulletstorm is. If you go here, you get 5,000 points. Sorry, bud.
There's so many encounters where you can kill him anyway, and it's like sometimes the only way to kill him is shoot him in the head, and it's like whatever, you get,
Oh, only 100 points for that kill. Sorry,
Yeah.
but you got your combo running. Like, oh.
Is it more of the attitude that's
It's the
presented?
attitude.
Okay.
You're right. As you can tell from that voice I applied
Yeah.
to it, it's the attitude.
Because
for
I do
sure.
think there is
Yeah.
merit in pushing the player, and because there are a lot of games, and I think there's a game that you're going to talk about that I feel this way. I do think there's merit in being like, all right, I don't want to just settle into a rhythm. You are giving me reason to be better. I think that's cool. That's why I like the rating systems in Devil May Cry. I like feeling bad in Bayonetta when I get that stone statue and it's making fun of me.
Because it's
Being pushed
It
is
makes you want
okay.
to get better.
There needs
Because
to be
when you
some
when you
mechanic-
become a badass
Yeah.
in Bulletstorm, when you like whip someone, kick him into a cactus, shoot this guy over here, barrel explodes, like change to the shotgun, shoot him in the head. Like when you get all that going, it's so rewarding.
But I just think that should be its own reward as opposed to that being the best way to play the game,
Well,
points wise.
And again with that attitudes thing, I've never liked it. I think Wolfenstein does this, where if you pick the easiest difficulty, it shows the main character in like a baby thing, a baby outfit.
Yep,
And it's like,
Wolfenstein.
yeah, and it's like,
I picked it every time.
it's like,
Not
why
ashamed.
why do this to your players?
Yeah.
Why not just call it easy and be done with it?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't make you cooler. It doesn't make me feel like you're just making the game look bad rather than pushing me.
No way, it's
to
that. It's
be
again,
better.
it's that spectrum. It's because then on the hardest one, he's like covered in blood. He's like, brah. So it's like you can go through on baby mode, or you can go through on
Hubert loves the bully, Ben.
hardcore mode.
Hubert's calling you a baby.
No, I'm not at all. I'm not at all.
No, that's the thing. It's like, why call your player, the person who
Right,
bought your game, why call
There's
that
a
person
difference.
a baby?
There's a difference
Yeah, for
between
sure.
pushing your player
Yeah.
and encouraging them and making them excited about what they're doing or excited to be better.
You're right.
And there's a difference between that and bullying and just being like, well, it feels like you're against me. It feels like I'm not playing this game. It feels like you're just reminding me of what I'm not. That's a different.
That's true.
thing.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be.
Like when you go online, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you go hypothetical situation. You go online, you're playing a fighting game, and you're like, I want to get good at this fighting game, and then you play against some random player, and he's just making fun of you the whole time with voice chat. It's like I don't want.
That's what Wolfenstein's doing. Yeah.
Yeah,
I never thought
that's
of it that
that's
way.
a different
That does
thing.
suck. That is sad.
So weird bit of Kyle Bossman history.
Love it.
So
Share it.
it's funny. I found it when I typed in Bulletstorm OJ. So it was back when I worked at I Am 8-Bit. We would send out like promotional materials for video games, and for some dumb reason, for Bulletstorm, we sent out orange juice that was labeled Bulletstorm, and it said 100% pulp. That was like the dumb joke.
Edgy.
And so to all like the poor Brian Crescentes of the world, they had to receive in the mail this thing of orange juice with a Bulletstorm label that I had to like peel. It's so hard to peel off an orange juice label.
Yeah.
It's not simple. It's not like a little beer bottle. It's really sticky. I had to do so many of those and then put on new Bulletstorm labels. This might be a factor. Honestly, this might be a factor in why I dislike Bulletstorm so much.
This personal
It
hell.
sounds like
Just so many things of OJ. I already hate orange juice, especially pulpy orange juice.
You don't like orange juice?
Attach that to Bulletstorm.
You don't like orange juice.
I can absolutely drink non-pulpy
Wanna-
orange juice.
Ben, you experienced this when we went to San Francisco for the Danganronpa event.
What
Silver Case
happened?
event.
Some orange juice.
We had breakfast. My
What was the
favorite.
name of that place?
Baby Blues? No, not
No.
Baby Blues.
It was the diner.
It'll come to me.
It was like an M. It was like Mimi's.
No, it'll come. It'll come.
Okay,
But
it'll
my
come.
favorite thing to do is when I go to a breakfast place, order a coffee, a water, and an orange juice.
Don
All
does
three.
this too.
Oh,
Don
Don
does
does
it
too?
Oh yeah, we
Coffee water
No,
OJ.
at the old office,
Oh,
we
at
had
IHOP.
this big
At
moment.
IHOP. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it is good. I do that now.
That
yeah.
trifecta of drinks early
Yeah.
in the morning is unbelievable.
It
don't
puts your
like-
soul into
Dude,
balance.
I don't like
Yeah.
things in my drink though.
To go no pull.
Little strands of.
You don't like bubble tea either.
Last week, I was at Burger King. I was at the drive-thru. Saw a big old poster. How can you ignore this? Fruit Loops milkshake. How could you say no? That sounds so good.
I don't know.
It's horrible.
Yeah, I don't
it's a
know. It
milkshake
doesn't
with
sound too
soggy
good.
cereal in the middle
Yeah.
of it. It's so bad. It's so bad. It made me
Nope.
so sick. I was so mad. I heard that.
Just to end this Bulletstorm one, I have a
Yeah.
question for Damiani. Damiani, you look at recent phenomenal reboots, soft reboots of Doom and Wolfenstein: The New Order. Mm-hmm. I guess those are full reboots, actually. Well, Wolfenstein is a sequel to 2009.
I do think phenomenal is appropriate.
2009. Yeah, those are both incredible games.
Okay.
Is Duke Nukem possible to reboot in this day and age? Because there are good first-person shooters out there, and there are good first-person shooters of franchises from that era. Is it possible, Damiani? What needs to be done to bring Duke back?
I mean, honestly, I think there's too much of a stigma associated with that name. Mm-hmm. You could probably make like a game on the caliber of the new Doom, but if you called it Duke Nukem, people would just not play it on principle. It's like, I'm tired of Duke Nukem. But people will be like, no, you don't understand, this game is great and stuff. Like, it has Duke Nukem.
What if you just
I agree with Damiani.
What if you completely redo the character?
Then why is it called Duke Nukem anymore?
What does Duke Nukem add? That's the question.
Because, I think of Duke Nukem 3D, I always think of the environment,
Yes.
and I think of an alien
yes,
invasion
but
on,
what does
on
but
Earth.
what does the Duke Nukem character add? that
He's just...
you could extract all of the. Good
I mean,
elements.
he's just straight up like Arnold Schwarzenegger, classic 90s macho, savior.
Actually, this game could be so good.
Like,
This could be so good.
There's gotta be a way.
We need supporting characters to react and respond to him.
Yeah.
Because you can't just be in his head hearing his lines throughout this entire game.
Yeah.
We do need other characters.
Give me one supporting character and how do they interact with Duke?
So,
What if he's friends with a pig cop?
Damiani,
And there's that dynamic.
if possible.
Like
feel like
an
the
uneasy
only
alliance
one
with a
who
pig cop.
The only one who could pull off this story, because I know what you're going for here.
Yeah.
I don't think any game this is something like a Pixar would do. Like the tale of this person.
Pixar's Duke Nukem?
Yes.
No,
What?
not Duke Nukem. The concept of like a character stuck in a time era,
Yeah.
and they need to change their ways and stuff, and
Yeah.
like they meet a cast of side characters who are like, they don't get the joke at first, like they're the joke. Then they have that moment of like, wow, I don't belong here.
Yeah.
Then the friends rally around him. It's like, no, like you still have a place here. You just gotta change a bit. Like that type of theme would have to be applied to Duke Nukem. Now, that doesn't seem like it would work with Duke Nukem though. Like,
We can do
it's
this.
just some weird.
We can do
You would
this.
need like a really good like
give me that supporting
comedy
character.
writer.
So it sucks. It's two kids. It's two 13-year-olds who love Minecraft. We'll do a boy and a girl. They love Minecraft. And they love watching streamers stream Minecraft. And those are our supporting characters.
But I
They
feel
do
like
not
that-
care about Duke Nukem.
But I feel like the out of touch angle has been done before. It's like you just need to,
Oh yeah, I played a real bad game that
you
was
know,
like that.
and
Will
like Duke
Arnett was the
Nukem
voice.
Forever. Even
Yeah.
he was like, it was 20 years later. He was famous,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's like,
Hubert. We can make this work.
Yeah.
We can. I swear to you, we can make this work.
Can you go?
Yes, we got this.
I thought you were just gonna say like instead of Minecrafters, you'd be like, let's get the Kids React people in there, laughing at Duke Nukem and stuff.
It's kind of that. I mean, Duke would also, in return, make fun of those kids. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be completely like he wants them to like him the whole time.
I guess like
I think it's like fresh start. It's never too late.
Back though, I guess my question. Like,
Okay, all right, everybody.
why
look,
do I want?
why-
Exactly. That's first and foremost.
why don't just leave a good thing done?
Here's what
Totally.
we don't
Yeah.
get enough of in games, though.
Huh.
I really believe this. And I agree with you that the whole out of touch, comes around, becomes a better person thing, maybe a little predictable. Here's what I want. I don't want Duke to have that moment and to have it end just totally dark.
Yes.
We don't have enough games that end super cynically.
Yeah.
Where Duke, like people come up to Duke, they try to be like, dude, stop. Please, just stop saying that garbage.
Yeah.
And Duke just doesn't get it.
Yeah, he's just like...
That'd be such a hard thing to pull off, but if you did it...
And then, like, you just have that moment where it's so obvious that no one likes Duke, but in his own mind, he still thinks he's the coolest person in the world.
Yeah.
And you have credits.
He's like, cracks his knuckles and says, boobies. And then just get credits.
Come on.
Yeah, Ben, I'm on board for that.
Okay.
I really think, like, your characters are supposed to change. The other people will. I don't think you can change Duke or else it ruins him. You bury that character.
You have all of these other people around Duke
Yeah.
that have these growths and these arcs, and
Yeah.
Duke just stays the same.
And I guess, too, you make everything around him, like, not offensive. Like, there aren't any more strippers that he's giving money to.
Yeah.
You know, everything has changed. Like, everything around him is less offensive.
No, I
still
think he's still...
It needs to be a heightened version of the world, though, because I love that world of LA so much. It's still future LA or future someplace.
Like, shake it, baby. Like, come on, Duke. The money.
So
But
like,
that is Duke.
He does shake it, babe, and then he like gets arrested, and like so level 2 is like
Yeah.
you got arrested,
Okay.
dude.
But
You
then
can't
he
do that anymore.
gets arrested,
Yeah.
and then he gets out of jail, and he just goes back.
Yeah. The end of the
just
game.
goes back.
Shake it, babe. Credits. Do you want to hear the PS Plus games?
Yes, I do. I
Okay,
do.
real quick.
I do.
Extremely relevant is why it's fine to bring this up. Tales
Yeah.
from the Borderlands.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at that.
You're getting that for free in May.
Stellar.
Go ahead and play that. We like it. Abzu is very good.
Yeah.
Oh, Abzu.
Okay. All right.
Here's a
This is
game I
good.
don't know. Blood Knights for PS3.
No idea.
No idea.
Okay. Port Royale 3, Pirates and Merchants for
Always
PS3.
wanted to play it.
It's like it's a business sim.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect PS Plus game.
Laser Disco Defenders for PS Vita and PS4.
No.
And then here's a really fun one, Typewriter for Vita and PS4. This is actually a game I brought up on this podcast a long time ago. It's a real weird game about fonts. The whole game is education
Wait,
about
is that
fonts.
confirmed or is that rumor?
That's confirmed.
That's 100%?
Baby. Yep, they made a video about it and everything.
Wow.
Hubert,
I wouldn't
Last
say stellar,
one?
Damiani,
Do I
but
have
that's
one
a
last
pretty good
one on
month.
there?
you've two more.
Okay.
We do.
They're both
There's so many
insanely
good things have
fast.
come out of this,
They're
but
insanely fast.
We've got Sniper Ghost Warrior 3 and
Yes.
Edith Finch.
Edith Finch, I'm gonna say because it's way too fresh.
Okay.
It's way too new to even talk about now.
Too fresh.
Play it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Play it.
I'm playing it tonight.
Play it tonight.
I wish I could have played it before the
Play
podcast.
it before anything happens. Just play Edith Finch.
Twitter will ruin it.
Dude. Edith Finch.
Okay.
All right. Play it.
Play it. And
official Finch
Sniper
verdict.
Ghost Warrior 3, I've played. Have never played the Ghost Warrior games, but I have played Sniper Elite 3 and 4.
You reviewed 2 of them.
Reviewed Sniper Elite 3 and 4. I prefer Sniper Elite to this. This is the first time Ghost Warrior has gone open world, but it's like Damiani's pet peeve. It's a pointless open world. It's seriously just go from point A to point B. Like, you get a mission, it's like, all right, drive over there. Get out. Snipe. Go back.
There's nothing justifying.
There's like some question marks dotted around that you can like, maybe rescue like hostages from a stick up that doesn't really do anything, or grab some like trading supplies to craft. But it doesn't really justify the open world. I do appreciate though the main missions are usually in large spaces. So you'll come up, it'll be like, all right, assassinate a guy in this area, and you'll come up to the zone, and it'll be a big zone with a bunch of buildings, which is cool because you can like throw your drone in, investigate around, find a cool sniper's perch to set up your shot, or you can go in guns blazing. So you have some variety with the way you go about each mission. But,
with Sniper Elite existing, I feel like there's nothing.
Yeah. Sniper Elite is World War II. This is modern.
Okay.
This is an extremely serious game.
You're not shooting Hitler.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah. Sniper Elite 4 is just... And 3. Sniper Elite just has a polish to it. It's just easier to get into and snipe, and it just has zest to it. Cyber
seems-
Elite is fun, and the X-ray cams.
It seems like it has a personality to it.
It has personality.
Whether you like that personality or not, there's regardless of how you feel about this, it has the nutshot. It has that calling card.
Which is very rare, by the way. I know everyone always comes back to the nutshot in Sniper Elite.
Right.
As someone who's reviewed Sniper Elite 3 and 4, I've gotten like 4 nutshots in 2 full playthroughs.
But you
That's
use
still
that.
400% more than I've had in any other game.
Still very rare to get.
But you
the
say
nutshot.
that word zest.
Yeah.
It has this vitality to it. It has something
the
going for it.
Head exploding. This has kill cams. Like the sniper following the bullet into the head, it's real bad. Like they should have just left it out.
Oh, so they tried to do like
They
the
try to
X-ray
do
thing.
it, but there's no X-ray. There's no skull coming apart. There's no flesh. It's just like bullet goes in and looks really bad. And
Well, I think that's kind of like real life, man.
it's not though.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just.
Have you sniped somebody in real life?
No, but I've seen enough like sniping through flesh shows where they like shoot through cattle, and it's like, yo, in movies when like in
It's
movies,
not a
what
nice
are you
little
watching?
hole.
Yeah, what are you
It's
watching?
not a nice little hole. Let's just say that.
In movies, when people go flying back from getting shot
It's
with a
high
shotgun.
power.
Okay.
It's high power.
Yeah.
You're right. It's not a little.
There's some
it's not a little
gore that's
handgun
going to be
bullet.
happening there.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Anyway, the game is rough around the edges. Maybe hold off on.
I'm just
Ghost
not getting.
Warrior
I'm just
3.
not getting the hook here.
No, there is no hook.
The hook's the open world, probably.
The hook is hook is sniping.
I feel like that's
The
an
hook is-
anti-hook.
Yeah.
You give me a blank space with a bunch of questions. No.
But I think when they were originally planning it, when they were sitting down and like,
sure.
okay, what's our hook this year? What do we do with this one?
I see.
Yeah.
There's no real hook unless you unless you're insanely into sniping, which this game has. But you can do it better in Sniper Elite. I hate to say it. I hate to be that guy.
No, say it. That's how you feel.
I hate to be that guy who's like, this one's better. Mm-hmm. I hate it.
But there's only so many sniping games.
But honestly,
Yeah.
like Ghost Warrior's rough. There's bugs. It takes like 6 minutes to load. It takes so long to load that it does a song and then the song stops and replays.
Oh.
It's just really rough, and it's open world for no reason. Just to capitalize on the trend, because the first 2 were not. So this time it's like, open world, let's make it open world. And it's just like, why are you open world at all? There's no reason. You could have just done really cool stages.
Such a anti-sell right there.
Yeah. So I would avoid Ghost Warrior 3 for now.
Kyle Bossman.
I only got one game, Ben.
All right, give it to me.
That game is called Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Phew.
Remake of Wonder Boy 3.
Yes.
Game looks awesome.
It is awesome. What's weird, why I enjoy this game so much, and I enjoy it a lot, is that it's such a direct remake that it respects the original so much that I feel like it's almost a story about that first game. Mm-hmm. When you get to the credits, for everybody who's in the main staff, there's an image of how old they were when the game came out, the first one.
Cool.
And I feel like that is what this whole game is. This game is just, they love this game. They believe in what this game is. It looks nasty compared to most games today. It doesn't hold up like Mario 3, for instance. It would be hard to play through it all in its original mode. And so they've updated the graphics, the visuals in an incredible style. I've never seen any art style quite like this one implemented into a game. The animation's great on it. But you hit R2 and it switches back to the old game at any moment. Meaning they made no changes to the way jumping works, to the way that the levels are formatted, to any of the pickups or anything.
Yeah, how the enemies react to you, how they move, all that stuff is exactly the same. So it's just this art style mapped onto that old
The
game.
original game.
And
Yeah.
you can also switch the soundtrack. So you can, by pressing R2 on the PS4 controller, you can switch it between the retro and the new style. And then by clicking the right stick, you can change the soundtrack from the new soundtrack to the old soundtrack. It's awesome.
So Ben, as I was progressing the game, I would hit R2 to see how they translated what was there before into what it is now. And you just feel the love. You feel the love for that old game. Because there are problems with that old game, And the development studio behind this, .emu or emu, whatever.
Lizard Cube.
Oh, okay, and
Yeah.
the .emu is the publisher.
Yeah.
Got it. They had so much confidence in this game that they didn't fix a thing.
Well,
so cool.
that's actually not entirely true, and I
okay.
want to dig into this a little bit more.
Sure.
But I realize I say that a lot. Dig into this is a phrase I
Let's dig in.
go back to the well.
Oh, digging's
a lot.
good
Dig
though.
in, baby.
That's
Yeah,
not like a
but I
overused.
I use it in everything I'm in. I'm realizing. Anyway,
It's dazzling.
for those, I feel like Master System games, it's this weird console that doesn't get a lot of love.
Right.
And doing research for the review, because I was not familiar with Wonder Boy or Monster World very much at all. It's kind of a confusing series. So what is this game? What do you do in this game? What
Yeah,
is
it's
the
cool
hook?
because you're right. No, if you just say like, "Hey, Kyle, it's an old platform," will you play it? Most of the time, I'm like, "No." It has elements of what I think we would call a Metroidvania in that it's one coherent space. You can access by the end of it, once you have all your powers, you could access any point of it from any time. And so that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool from what the game was in its time period. But I wouldn't call it Metroidvania entirely. I feel like it's an adventure game where you do platform. There are no bottomless pits. I love that about this game. It's kind of a coherent world. And what's funny is it's not. Even from the beginning, you're in a cave, and then the cave suddenly transforms into like this sci-fi area gradually. And I'm like, wait, why did they do this? So I hit R2, and in the old game, it's cave, and then suddenly sci-fi spaceship. And it's like, oh, okay, they tried to kind of explain why this is happening. There's not a lot of coherence to the world that used to be there, and I think they added a lot to make it a coherent world. But I love that. You know I love a coherent world,
Yeah.
especially in a game that's about running and jumping. It's about collecting powers, and another thing, this is actually a thing I love about Duke Nukem, is a game where the only way to progress is finding secrets. Where I found a secret, and I'm like, oh, I'm pretty smart. And then I find out, oh, that was the way to go. I love that. I love the game that says explore. You have to explore. You will not get any further unless you're actually like finding something. That's pretty cool as opposed to just going left to right for the entire game.
With Wonder Boy, the Dragon's Trap, what happens is you start out as this human being, and you can pick either a boy or girl, which you couldn't do in the original game. You were only a boy.
By the way, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And then at
It's
the
a nice
end,
little touch.
like the intro and the end,
Yeah.
it changes to Wonder Girl.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's
cool.
Yeah.
It's nice. There's a lot of just subtle little additions to that. Where again, we'll get to this in just a second.
Okay.
Where they do, you can see it in every little element of this game. They do have that deep respect, and the additions that they make don't creep in on that original game. It's just like it's extending it, kind of. And it's different from a lot of other remakes in that way. But the thing is here is when you talk about getting new abilities, as you kill monsters and as you open chests and stuff, you'll get money, and you can go to all of these different shops, and the shopkeepers are these pigs that are these smoking pigs.
With an eye patch.
With an eye patch. They just look cool.
Yeah.
And finding the shops is a secret in of itself, because a lot of them are in hard to reach places, and so you buy new armor and weapons, but the big thing is at different points when you beat a boss. So when you do the intro of the game, you transform into this lizard man.
Yeah.
And you can shoot fireballs, and you don't have a shield anymore, so you can't block projectiles. So while you have a range attack, which is nice, you are a little bit more vulnerable on defense. Cool. Then you transform into a mouse. And you can't just go back to a lizard. You can't just go back to a human. It's like, no, you're gonna play the game this way now.
You're a mouse now.
And it's a dramatic shift, and that's
Yep.
really cool. And what you can do with the mouse is actually my favorite one in a way, because you can climb on special blocks, and they incorporate that into the level design where you're in this tower and you're kind of going through this maze of a tower and you're rocking around on the ceiling. But as a mouse, you have this tiny little sword, and so it's way harder for you to fight things. Despite the fact that you have this pretty cool ability where you can walk on ceilings, you can walk on walls.
Sounds so fun.
Yeah.
And that's another one of my favorite things is not seeing the future Metroidvania elements, where you didn't know that you'd be able to walk on that as a mouse. You see these blocks, and you're like, okay, I can't jump over that. Maybe when I can fly, I'll be able to do it.
Right.
You didn't expect, oh, maybe I'll be able to climb around that as a mouse. Why
Right.
would you? I think that's cool.
We're talking about the keeping everything the same. Visually, they do a couple of things that I really like. One of those is very practical. There's you can go to this nurse who will heal you, refill your hearts. There's an area where in the original game, it's just this invisible door. If you just hit up, in the original game, there's no indication that this thing is here at all. It's just if you happen to hit up on this spot, you'll go to this nurse and you can get healed there. If you switch it to the new graphics, there's this broken sign that has the medical cross on it. And so it's just this nice little tiny hint that it gives you. And those are some of my favorite secrets where you're right, Kyle. They'll kind of plant the seed in your brain where it's like, wait a minute, if I could just do this, I could get there.
Yeah.
And those are really satisfying to come back to. But I also feel like there are just a lot of really obscure secrets where it's like, how would I ever figure this out? To get one of the best shields in the game, it's just another sort of invisible door thing where there's no indication.
Oh, the one in the well.
There's no indication that this is there at all. It just feels obtuse in a really frustrating way because you can get swords, you can get armor, and you can get shields, and the sword and the armor are you find them pretty naturally, pretty easily. But the shield, it's like, all right. Unless I looked at a guide, I wouldn't know that this door is there. And I think that's frustrating.
I looked at a guide.
Yeah. Right. You want to know, and there's no.
But
good
what's
way
so
to do
cool
that.
though is that guide was for the Master System version of the game.
Yeah,
That was so
it
cool.
just still totally applies to everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice. Sounds really fun.
Sorry, I don't mean to step on your impression too much. Tell me
we're
more of
having a discussion.
what you like about the game.
That's kind of it. I love the design. You know, I love a game like this where it feels like a world. It feels like there's a town,
Right.
And that I'm exploring the outreaches of it, and then coming back with new abilities. And
That's the coffee, everybody.
that's the coffee alarm. And I love the arts, and I love the love. This it's a remake full of love and respect.
I always get so frustrated talking about this, but that hand-drawn art, I don't know how else to say it other than you just look at it and you go, wow, this is just fun to see in motion. It looks so good.
And you go back and some of the sprites are just ugly.
Oh, yeah.
That lion sprite sucks.
And
so does the mouse.
What this new art adds to the world goes beyond just that practical stuff that I was talking about, like the broken sign. There's a field where there's just this giant statue of this warrior holding a sword down. And you switch it to the old graphics, it's just nothing. It's just blank. It's just empty.
Yes.
And the new graphics, it's like it just is this tiny, wonderful way of being like, who is that warrior? It's
a bear.
A
bear. And you never turn into a bear in the whole entire game. Yeah, so it's like, what is that? Who was that bear?
It adds this sense of history to this world that wasn't there before.
And actually, the depth there looks really nice. They do some really nice things with the scaling somehow.
Kyle, there was one other complaint that I had that maybe talking to you, maybe I'll feel less frustrated about it.
Sure.
The boomerang.
Love the boomerang.
I love the boomerang because it's insane. Because how good it is.
Yeah.
So you have a bunch of different sub-weapons, like a Castlevania. You have a tornado that will cling to the ground, and so if something's below you, you can just throw a tornado there and it will deal with those enemies. You've got arrows that shoot up into the sky. There are a lot of enemies that come up above you that are tricky to get to, so the arrow lets you do that. You've got a fireball that's very quick and has a decent range to it. But then you have the boomerang. So for all of these other sub-weapons, they have a limited number of uses. And so you kind of hold on to them. You really think about when you're going to use them. With the boomerang, you can throw, I believe it's 2 out at a time. And as long as you aren't dumb about it, as long as you just stay in place, they'll come back to you. And the boomerangs have a great range. And so once I kind of figured out how insanely strong the boomerang was, I would just go through like huge chunks of that game just throwing boomerangs, keeping myself out of harm's way, getting the enemies in a stun lock. And it was just like this... I don't have to think about this anymore. Like they put these enemies in an interesting spot, and this is too good.
Yeah, I hear you. I wouldn't have finished the final area without a boomerang.
Right.
Yeah.
But did it feel like it cheapened the experience for you? Or did you like having that option?
It's weird, Ben. It's like this is how the game is.
Yeah.
It's kind of that weird old, when we played games as children, we weren't critiquing them ever. This is how the game is. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And so I did feel that way when you play through this game. It is...
So you liked that it was, this is what the game was, and they just kept that intact.
Yeah.
Let me flame my boomerang.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe it is because I didn't discover how good it is until way late.
Right.
I wasn't using it until that final area. Yeah, maybe it was that. I don't know.
It's just a hard thing from a review perspective.
Yes.
Because I think if I hadn't reviewed this game, my opinion would be, because if I approached it just from a historical context,
It'd be so hard to review this game.
right? Because on one hand, you respect that they are keeping the intent of the original game,
Yeah.
but they do little touches here and there, and so you also have to evaluate the experience on its own.
Yeah.
Especially for a bunch of people that have never played that original game, it's a tricky balance.
Because the controls are bad, especially
They're
during
bad.
boss fights.
They're bad. I
And-
think it needs to be said that the controls are not great.
Yeah.
There's a slipperiness to them where you're trying to jump or you're trying to attack, and your character will go farther than you intended. There's just this awkwardness
And
to it.
attack frames, I'd say, are kind of rough too.
Yeah.
Where your sword is hitting and when is not what you believe it would be. But again, as I'm playing it, I was like, okay, this is just how the game is, Kyle.
Sure.
Adapt. You got it.
Yeah.
And so when I'm cheesing those enemies, I'm okay with it, with that boomerang, because I know how hard they are to kill with just my sword.
Right. And when you approach it from that perspective, it's kind of amazing all of the things that game was doing of its time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is very impressive. Yeah, that's what I think. It seems like a game that somebody appreciated and said, if I could just show people what this game is,
Right.
if I can just make it like a palatable to them, they would know how good this game is. And I think that's what that story of that game is.
And in the credits, they show pictures of them as children.
Yeah.
Right. And this is something that meant the world to them, and they're trying to keep that intact. Yeah. Absolutely. That's all you got.
That's all I got. I definitely
you
very
got.
much like that game.
Okay. Nothing else. All right. We'll
Nothing
move
else to
on.
discuss. Well, yeah.
We'll move on. Kyle. Okay. I just have to ask because the audience is curious.
What?
I don't want to force you into a discussion before you're ready,
Mm-hmm.
but it seems like you are super hot on Nier,
Yes.
and we're going to talk about it at some point.
Yeah, we'll probably do oh my gosh, what's the name of it? Spoiler mode. We'll do a spoiler mode.
Okay, the people want it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. Say, hey, we want to do this too.
Yeah,
there are
The
people in
characters
Easy
in Nier
Allies.
aren't too cool.
Huber, we had this conversation, man. They are too cool, but people respond to them in an acceptable in a manner in which you as a viewer can connect it into this world better.
The
haven't
again,
played
not
it. I
to
can't
ruin
speak
too
to it.
much,
Yeah.
but the relationship between 9S and 2B, I
Yeah.
think, is fantastic.
Yeah. You have a cool buddy
Nice.
who's not too cool.
So you're both cool together.
No,
I would okay. I don't want to preempt. I don't want to have a watered down. Here's my thing.
Yeah.
I don't want you guys to feel like we're limiting this discussion, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I don't have a watered down discussion when we could just have a full, meaningful one a little bit later.
Let it
Sure,
cook.
sure. Yeah.
Let
Okay.
it cook.
He's on the box art, Huber. She's carrying him on the box art. You know there's a relationship there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Box art of the year.
Box art of the
Box art of the year.
Ooh, we got to do that.
Yeah, we should.
We got to add it.
I don't
Add it to
think,
our
but the
goodies.
thing is, I don't think there's anything else that's all that close to it.
Box art of the year.
You
Do we
know
count
what?
digital games?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I really like the Wonder Boy.
Ooh, that's some good stuff.
Yeah.
It's got the line in the lower left-hand corner.
Yeah.
I would like to nominate The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
Oh, sure,
Sick box art.
sure. I kind of like the Horizon box art as well.
What's the Horizon box art?
She's like staring down a giant machine.
Okay. What else are you gonna do though? Right, like they just went with
You
the
could
obvious
have
choice
done
there.
the thing that has been done to death, where it's like Aloy just like staring down with her
Ooh,
bow.
yeah. What is it? Chin down, eyes up.
Yeah, chin down, eyes up. Yeah, you could've
you're
gone
right.
that
You
route.
could've done it.
Rise up.
All right, Michael Damiani, you've got an eclectic choice of games that you've been playing. What would you like to start out with?
Start with the Final Fantasy X HD.
Nice.
Nice.
So proud.
So, I want to say that I have not actually played through this version of the game in its entirety.
Okay.
I've only played through the original PlayStation 2 version, and we actually got this game back at Game Trailers. Like, it's from
The PlayStation 3 version.
Yeah, it sticks out for me because it was like the most early we'd ever gotten a game in the history that I've like been reviewing games and stuff. And I was just like, wow, this is just sitting here. And I remember playing up to the part where you fight the Chocobo Fiend, and I stopped there. And I just never picked it up after that, just because I played the PlayStation. So the PlayStation 2 version, when it came out, that was the game that got me to, I need a PlayStation 2 now. Like, I have to have one. I played it using one of my friend's PlayStation 2s. That then he was trying to play through it, so I was like, all right, I need to get my own. Like, I want to be able to play this at any time. And I must have put around 200 plus hours into that game, because not only did I finish it, I did like everything in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I got all the celestial all the celestial ultimate weapons.
You
like
dodged
the chocobo.
you dodged the lightning 200 times?
200 times.
Oh my god!
I remember doing that. I remember using it like with the random encounters up, so I'd have to like keep track of the number going through random encounters. So I had a piece of paper. I just write down the number I had.
Oh,
yeah.
So here's my question, Damiani. Having put in all of this effort with Final Fantasy X, doing everything in that original North American release, why are you revisiting it now? Yeah, so why are you revisiting it, and then why are you revisiting it now, especially when there are other huge JRPGs competing for your attention?
I mean, one, I hadn't. Well, I mean,
I think that came out wrong, but
I mean, the easiest answer is that I need to stream a full playthrough on Fridays.
Oh, okay.
And I started impromptu playing it one day, and everyone just I don't like to use the word demand, but suggested, highly suggested, could you keep playing through this? I was like, you know what? I haven't actually played through the entirety of the HD version. And for someone who really loves 10 and it's pretty lofty in my like personal rankings of best game or favorite game of all time.
Isn't it your favorite Final Fantasy?
It's my favorite 3D Final Fantasy.
Okay.
Though now I have to qualify that with like traditional style, like not MMO or whatever. Mm-hmm. So the problem is why everyone was like, why haven't you played through the HD version? Like I would expect that you would have played this thing to death by now just to see all the changes and all that. I'm like, well, you'd think so, but hey, I just had so many fond memories of the original. I played it so much that once I played through a bit of it at E3, and then when we got it in, I was like, okay, I like the HD treatment. The music arrangement, I actually forget now if they let you pick the version that you wanted, the original, the arrange. I thought it was always there from the beginning, but people in chat were telling me that wasn't added. That wasn't added till later on.
Yeah, because I started the Vita version, and it was the weird music. And I remember like looking into it pretty heavily, and I couldn't.
You don't like the new version?
I don't like the. No, I hadn't played 10 in so long. It's like I wanted the creator's intent. I wanted the original.
It's nice. Like a lot of these remakes give you the option to pick either version, so it's kind of weird. But I know Square Enix, whenever they put money into something that's new, they want you to experience it. They kind of want to force you to deal with that and listen to it. I just felt some of it I like, but I feel some of it just takes too many liberties and changes it. Like the part where you're swimming through Besaid in the water with the Waka, that music sounds completely different. I couldn't even recognize it at first. I was like, what? Did they change the music here completely? And I had to go listen to the original. I was like, yeah, what did they do here? Like, I don't know if I like what they did. And it's
like,
this.
Why change it? If it's fine as is, why?
Yeah, if they were
why tweak it?
If they were worried about the sound quality, or whatever, like the PS2 audio is like it sounded great back then, but it doesn't sound as good anymore. Mm-hmm. Just redo the songs like normally, like just up the quality a bit. That's all. You don't need to like recompose them as something.
Because it's not like they're changing fights or like changing dungeon layouts or anything. It's like, why the soundtrack? Why are you changing? I could see if you were changing other things to kind of sync it up into this whole new thing, but like to have the same game just with a new backdrop of music is weird.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that. I'm playing through the original music. Mm-hmm. The one thing I want to say I'm up to the part in Macalania Woods after the Thunder Plains.
Yeah,
I did not dodge 200 lightning bolts this time though. I kind of just passed through. I was like, we're not doing that. We're not doing that this time. Although there's an easy way to cheese it.
No, there isn't.
Yeah, apparently there is. There's a really easy way to cheese it.
Kyle.
There is. The chat was linking me the video. I was like, I'll watch it later after I beat the game. Don't want to use it now. The point I want to make though is getting to that point through the game, seeing as much as I see now again and re-experiencing it after I haven't touched it in years, makes me really appreciate the fact that despite this game being pretty linear, it is so story-driven. I'm finding myself really appreciating that kind of structure and design for an RPG again, that I'm like, I miss it. I was like, man, there's a way to do this type of game where it's very focused. It is very like point A to point B. There's a little bit of wiggle room in each of the environments. They're not that big. Back in the day, they felt huge, but now they're very tiny compared to everything else. And it is very, very linear, but I'm I'm loving it. I'm remembering why I loved it back then because I like the story so much. I like those characters. I like, despite the dialogue, how well or not well it's aged. Despite the voice acting is,
rough.
It's rough for its, even for its time. There's just something about like how much time they spend with the characters, developing them, and I care about them. I actually get to know them, and I'm getting to know this world of Spira. Like they have the best thing that they did that I forgot about is they have these weird secondary characters that you meet early on, and they increase as you go. Like you take a ship to from Besaid to Kilika, and then you go to the tournament in Luca. You start meeting these characters like Crusaders, this other faction that's trying to help fight sin, but you meet people from Yevon. They travel with you indirectly. Like every time you move to a new area, they've made that travel with you because they're also journeying around the world. You keep coming across them, so there's always these familiar faces that you're coming across.
And the way they treat summoning in that game too, Damiani.
Oh gosh, the summonings.
I love it.
That was like
context.
Really good. Really good.
Like going to the Summoner's Lodge and like seeing that whole like religious side of it all. Like that part always stayed with me in 10.
Damiani, it is really, I think, a fantastic point that you bring up, thinking about the locations in Final Fantasy X. You are so right on the money, where every place that you go to, there is a very strong reason for why you're here specifically. We are going here to do this thing in pretty much every area, and I feel like in so many RPGs, there are a lot of times where it's like, okay, this area is just space between this point we're actually trying to get to. Or we just ended up here, we're trying to get out. Like the area itself matters so little, but that is not true in Final Fantasy X. Like you have a very clear goal, and all of those areas matter. Like all of those areas is important within that world. It's not just space for you to run around and kill things. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think the story is the better for that, and the fact that there aren't so many traditional side quests. Like even when you go to like a new area, there are secondary objectives you can do in there. I mean, you can find treasure chests. Some of them have like I'm in Macalania Woods now. There's the whole butterfly thing where you can try and get all like the butterflies.
Oh, learning the language too.
Yeah, the Albed language. But these things, they don't overwhelm you with a lot of these things.
Right.
They are very well placed. They're a very small amount because the story is always front and center, and I always know what's going on. I always feel like the story is moving forward, and I feel like it is just so well crafted that way. I think about when people say, even like I say this, like, man, put more side quests and stuff in there. I think about 10 if they just put a ton of side quests in every zone. Would I have felt the same way about this story, or would I have been, man, like the narrative kind of get meanders and gets lost every so often because I get torn in these side quests? It's very difficult to reconcile, and I keep thinking like, what would I want them to do nowadays if they were to make another game like Final Fantasy X, but make it interesting for today's audiences? Could they get away with making the exact same game, or do they need to include more modern tropes like? I think you're thinking of the calm plain, the Calmlands, the plains, the biggest area in the game, where you go to the Monster Hunter guy, and that's where you do all the Monster Hunter quests. If they had more activities in there, if they had put in a few more just regular traditional side quests for activities to do other than progressing the story.
What about Blitzball, dude?
Blitzball is part of the story, actually. It is optional, but like they make you go through it and love it or hate it. Some people like you. Even losing it, you might like, man, I'm getting my butt kicked in this. The story moves on. It's not like you fail, go back and redo this till you win.
But
like,
you can also go back and become champion, which I think is kind of cool.
I mean, you can win it, and the game accounts for it. But like then it's like, hey, did you like this? Do you actually want to invest more time in this?
Yeah.
Now you can go play Blitzball Seasons. You can recruit people in the world. You can.
Oh yeah, I forgot you could do that.
This is a side quest. It's not presented as a side quest, but it is a side quest.
Doesn't that help you get like a ultimate weapon too? Right?
Helps you.
Wakas.
Right?
Yeah.
And it unlocks other items and stuff that you need for upgrading.
Meaningful investment.
Well, that contextual importance is so great because I'm not a fan of the Blitzball minigame, but what I love is that that their big mini game in Final Fantasy X is something that this character from another, like, out of time uses to relate to people of this world. Like, this mini game has so much significance. Learning this language, trying to understand these people that he's interacting with all the time. In Final Fantasy 8 and 9, it's like, yo, dude, do you want to play cards? That's it. And, oh, man.
Like, there's just so much.
Final Fantasy X is really good.
Yeah, there's a lot of context in there. Like, again, we talked about, like, the voice work and writing might not be the best, but there's a lot of layers to this game. Like, the narrative and the characters. And for its time, I thought it was pretty good. And looking at it, while there's still some cliches there, I feel like not enough, like, some of its successors don't go that in depth anymore, especially with the opportunity to have better writing. Like, they've obviously, have a chance to improve the writing. Like, they've come a long way. And after playing this, I feel a little bit, I feel other games in the series might be a little bit more shallow now when I'm comparing them. But besides that, I want to make one more point about the battle system in this game. Final Fantasy X, it is turn-based. It is very simple, but I feel like it is extremely effective, and it is highly enjoyable. And the fact that you can see previous Final Fantasy turn-based games, you would not necessarily know the order. You could see either a meter charging up and you knew you were about to come out, but you didn't know when enemies were going ever, I think. I don't think any previous Final Fantasy game gave you any indication an enemy was about to take a turn before you, whether you're in active or wait mode. But this one, you see the order. Not just the basic order, but you can see the consequences of any action you take to see how it will rearrange that. Like, oh, I'm low on health, but I can see the boss only has like a little bit more HP, but this one hit won't finish them. What if I did, cast a haste spell on another character who can do a little bit more damage? Will they get to go before the enemy goes? And you look it up, and it's like, it will work. All right, do it. Haste them, and then let them attack.
What came out first, 10 or Grandia 2?
Grandia 2 came out first.
Grandia 2, baby.
Why, does Grandia 2 do the same thing?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Good system, then.
Very similar.
Well,
Very similar. You see your outcome.
No,
you see your
you
order.
really do. It's
Okay.
not necessarily a new thing. It's just something that you appreciate in this.
Not
Final
enough games
Fantasy.
do that. I bring it up because Grandia 2 and Final Fantasy X.
Well,
I love turn-based fighting systems.
It's actually something that I've seen for newcomers to Persona 5. They're frustrated. It's like, wait, why did this enemy get to attack twice? That being surprised and not necessarily knowing what the order of things are. Yeah,
I love that.
for sure.
Yeah, it's something very simple to do, and they haven't done it since. They kind of like moved away from that. Like 13 is still technically turn-based, but it's so action focused that it's supposed to be like rapid reactions, like do everything fast.
Right.
10
Stack as many things.
10
on
is
top
so
of each other.
methodical and strategy driven. Like, I love that about it. Just like being able to play this game and being able to change out.
Yeah.
Give a party of 3.
Right.
You can, when it's your character's turn, you can swap them out for any reactive characters, and it's not game over till everyone dies. Unlike 13, where if lightning dies, it's over. It's over if lightning dies in 13. That drove me insane.
I'd like to pose a question to the panel. Damiani, you got me thinking about this. Where, let's say, for whatever reason, hypothetically, Final Fantasy 16 comes out and they say, hey, we're going back to a turn-based system. Here's what we want to accomplish with this. They lay out all their goals. And then you see all of the articles that come out and it goes, Final Fantasy going back to its roots, Final Fantasy going retro. That's actually a bit irritating to me because while I understand where those articles are coming from, that perspective has merit. It's frustrating that you can't do a style without it being written a certain way. Like, I don't necessarily think that's justified. Maybe they're going to do something crazy with this turn-based style. Maybe it won't feel retro. I just feel like there's this sort of stigma attached just because something has been done in the past. Like, oh, this is clearly just copying this, or oh, this is clearly just trying to. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
And pressing square to swing your sword isn't necessarily newer than turn-based battles.
Right.
Yeah.
We've been doing press X for swear for a long time, press X for sword for just as long. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, where I feel like we can't necessarily even with Bravely Default, there was a lot of people being like, "Oh, that's that retro throwback," right? And it's like, well, I guess like it has a world map, it has turn-based battles, but this Brave and Default system, I've never experienced anything like that. The flexibility that you have, this village building minigame, it has this entire world.
Did Bravely
all these
Default
new
have a
characters.
timeline as well? where you can see where your turn is coming up?
I feel like it did.
I think it
I
did.
think it did.
Yeah.
I think it did.
I love that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I really do
pictures
like
on
that.
the side.
Yeah, you're right. And Ben, that will happen. Anytime you do return based, it's going to be called retro style. It's going to look old.
I want to push back
mean,
against that.
We can't do it.
It's
We
not-
can do it. We can do it.
I think the
Okay.
thing was like I can give you my perspective on that. My thing with that, especially when it comes to Final Fantasy, is that I felt like there was this belief by both fans and the creators that there were tropes of Final Fantasy and being turn-based was one of them. For the longest time, it seemed like they were so against having an action-based combat system. And I started to see other RPGs around them try it out to varying degrees of, success. And sometimes when a series like Final Fantasy, they would have like a new hook in every game, but you always knew it was gonna be turn-based. It'd be some like hook to the battle system, something unique, but it still fundamentally was turn-based. There was part of me for the longest time just wanted them, please, just try it once. Just try an action-based battle system that isn't turn-based to see how it goes. Is that like such a cardinal sin that you can't do that in the series? It won't be Final Fantasy anymore? That's why I was like championing that so much in 15. I was like, please, I can't wait for this game to see how this battle system goes.
Right.
Now that they've done it and stuff, I mean, I'm no longer that opposed to them going back to it. I personally would like them to, do whatever they think is best going forward. But I think in some people's minds, maybe they think when they think of turn-based, they associate a lot of the older tropes with it. Like they think if Final Fantasy 16 were to go turn-based, I'm going to go across a field, and I'm going to touch an enemy, or I won't even see an enemy. It'll do a random encounter, then I'm going to turn-based. I feel they start filtering all these like older tropes into that. Like there are these like key words that like turn-based, random encounters, and they just start looping in a whole bunch of other stuff and dumping in there when that's not necessarily true. Like we talked about 13. 13 is not like any other turn-based battle system. Like it almost tricks you into thinking it's real-time action. And it's like, what if, it doesn't have to be random encounters. What if it was you run around the map, you see the enemies, it seamlessly transitions to the battle, but just goes turn-based. Even 15 had a pseudo turn-based wait mode or whatever that let you do certain actions with like a certain time limit. I didn't think it worked too well, but I'm not against it doing it again. And I see why some people might filter some of those things in there. And I think it's only fair to criticize when a series has only been doing it one way and hasn't tried the other. Not if Final Fantasy has done that. I think people should, like, if I see those deluge of articles, they're not unexpected, but I hope they're not unfair because let them try something.
It's a uniquely Final Fantasy problem because I think about the combat in Lightning Returns. I love it.
Sick.
And I don't think it could have existed were there not this iteration from 13 to 13.2 to Lightning Returns. And it's such an interesting battle system that feels distinctly Final Fantasy, but has all of these new action elements where you are trying to put this enemy in a specific state, and you have to do things like you're switching between different things on the fly depending on what the enemy is doing and all this stuff. It's really cool. It's insanely well thought out. But I think about how little I care about the story in Lightning Returns, where these two parts, like how I feel about these two different parts is so completely different. And that's frustrating for Final Fantasy. Whereas I feel like for a lot of people, they didn't want to get into the world of Final Fantasy 12 because they didn't like the Gambit system, or they didn't like the sort of pseudo MMO style. And that has to just be in such an insane challenge where they have to appeal on both fronts simultaneously. It's hard for people to just be in for one and not the other.
That's what I love about Final Fantasy 12. Is that is a combat system nobody asked for.
Yeah.
That's a combat system where somebody said, I have a crazy idea, everyone get on board because we're
Right.
doing this.
Yeah.
Right, and you want that.
Yeah.
I said this about Final Fantasy 15. I like that they are trying to push in this new direction. I think that's what makes Final Fantasy exciting. Totally true. But at the same time, like Damiani is saying, I would love if they went back to the 10 system. What else can we do with that? What else can we do with the 13 system? What else can we do with the 12 system? It's like they put so much time and effort into these ideas that you want to see how far they can go.
In 16, you're going to type text messages to the characters, and then they will react in battles according to your texts.
Like,
Yep.
how they feel about your text is based on how they perform in battle. There's
Yeah.
a direct correlation there.
Yeah.
Do you actually
Like-
use your phone?
You're like doing good, babe. Yeah, you use your phone.
Doing good, babe?
Yeah.
And the emotes have trigger specific responses?
Yeah, but you can't overuse them. There's like
Right.
in real life, you can't overuse emotes.
What does 100 trigger?
It's a summon.
It's a summon.
Okay.
Damiani, you talked about Final Fantasy X. I think you really brought up some fantastic points. You got me thinking. Is there anything else you want to say on that? If not, what else do you have for us?
I mean, last thing I just want to say is, I mean, going like with the future of the series. I know we've talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think they can look to the past to learn to, make things, to infuse that into the newer games going forward. Look no further than Breath of the Wild. Yeah, everyone's like, it's doing something completely new and different for the series, but it essentially is embracing the essence of the original game, which they just kind of like strayed further and further from that over time.
Right.
And, as they wrap more context and objectives and dungeons and linear orders. And someone just finally sat down and said, like, what if we just made it like Zelda 1? Like, what if we made it where you feel like you just drop the player in the world and just go?
But I think it's important is they didn't stop at that essence.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't just let's go back to Zelda 1. That was just a starting point to do so many completely new things.
So, like, you say for Final Fantasy X, like, maybe look back at one of the older ones, like, hey, what if we start with this idea of 10, like, a linear story, and story is the focus, and there's, like, a set path for the player, but what can we do on top of that to make it a game people enjoy in 20XX or 2020 something?
If they choose to make the next game linear, it'll come out 2 years sooner. It'll take 2 years. Development time. Like, just do it.
Real quick about
Unreal
that.
Engine 4.
Yeah.
To Square Enix, I appreciate the effort they put into 15 and Zelda Breath of the Wild Nintendo. I don't think you don't always necessarily need to go so ridiculously insane with the size of a game just to check that box of 70 hours of gameplay, because that's what people expect.
Yeah.
Sometimes tighter is better.
More is less.
Final Fantasy VII Remake, Damiani.
If 15's world had been a little smaller, if even Breath of the Wild's world had been a little smaller, and it trimmed off 10 to 15 hours from those games, I think I sort of enjoyed them just as much. I think sometimes the obsession to be bigger, to be longer, hurts these games in the end. I think they need to understand that it's not going to get that. It's not going to hurt them sometimes just to like reel things in just a little bit.
7 Remake, all killer. No
I know what they're worried about. They're worried about someone going, "I beat this game in 20 hours." What the heck, guys? Like I waited 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know.
I know.
I'm not gonna.
I bet that's
not gonna. Final Fantasy 16. One room. You're locked in a room. There are 2 chairs. You're with another person. The only way that you can communicate with this person is through text.
Oh gosh.
Sorry, Damiani.
And it's still Agni. It's still Agni of Agni's philosophy. It still hurts.
just in the air.
Yeah. Okay, now.
What else you got for us, Damiani?
What did I mention again? Give me a cheat code reminder.
I think
Sure.
a little game on your Switch over there.
Oh
yeah.
Your Switch, which we have not talked about yet.
A little bit of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
DX.
A game. Yeah, they could have called it DX, but Deluxe is nice too.
Damiani, this is a game that I am extremely excited for, and then I think to myself, wait, should I be disappointed in myself that I am so excited?
No, I actually was worried about people say the other, because I kind of was of this mindset a little bit until I learned some more things about the game. I was worried that people who had already played it on Wii U and then had invested money in the DLC already would just be like, oh man, I already put so much time into Mario Kart 8. Why would I want Deluxe? And this is like their big title for April? Like, why Nintendo? Like, I could see a lot of like criticism leverage at the choice to bring it out. But and now it seems so obvious because it was one of the best-selling titles on Wii U. But Wii U wasn't the best-selling system during its generation, so you got a new hot system that is selling out. Of course, put it out for people who might have missed it on the first time. Plus, you can play it on the go. Runs at a nice smooth 60 frames a second, mostly, at 720p on your little like take it on the go mode, and it's great. I thought I was gonna have maybe some problems with controls, like with the Joy-Con controllers, but nope. It's been pretty smooth sailing so far. Has all the DLC is in there, and it's unlocked already. All the characters are there. The only thing you don't have is like the different custom cart and parts. You still got to unlock those through coins, so that's still there. Everything through 200cc is unlocked, so you got 50, 100, 150 mirror, and that all the courses are unlocked. So it's just there to go. And that's great. I was worried about like stuff being gated behind. You got to play it this much. You got to unlock it again. I was like, they knew people's concerns. I was like, nope, it's all there. It's all good to go. Have fun.
Have you raced on the new Splatoon track?
I have not yet.
Okay.
That's a battle mode strictly, though.
Is it battle mode strictly? I thought. Okay.
I don't know the answer to that because I've not raced on anything brand new just yet. That's exclusive. I've not tried any of the new characters.
Yeah. The only new tracks are battle modes, so
Okay.
they haven't added any new cups to race in.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was looking in 50cc. I didn't see anything new, so I was like,
Right.
maybe it's restricted to 200 or something because I never tried 200 back in the day.
Huber.
But there are a lot of battle mode maps.
Yeah.
They actually really committed to that. It's not
Right.
The battle mode was awful in Wii U,
Oh, yeah.
and so it is really cool. I think any effort that went toward new tracks was just like, let's just make more battle mode maps.
Yeah.
Huber, we haven't heard from you in a little bit. Do you feel any enthusiasm for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on your Switch?
Yeah, I was hesitant. I enjoy the game. I love the game. I have it on Wii U, but I didn't put a lot of time into it. I actually just got a call today, a few hours ago. My friend said he got a Switch, and he's ready to get Mario Kart.
What is the name of your
My
friend?
friend Nick.
Does Nick have a special name?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Whoa. Just a normal
no,
name.
I like his screen name, Movie Man Nick. Movie Man Nick, because he's obsessed with movies.
Thank you.
So he's like my movie theater go-to friend.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
We always see movies together. But Brad has been pushing Nick to get a Switch because he wants to do local Mario Kart, where we all just have our Switches and we just play Mario Kart battle mode or regular race mode together.
I'm gonna Google if this is possible right now.
Yeah, I
'cause
need
we
to
weren't even
know
sure.
because that is why he bought a Switch. We're ready to race, just like when we go hang out, get some food.
So there is split screen options on here where players can, off one console, can play. I don't know if it's 4-player or to 2-player.
I need to know if
but I don't
three
know-
people with Switches
I don't think
can,
that one. I don't think there's LAN. Like you're thinking
That
LAN
needs-
sport. I
that
don't
is-
think that's there.
I need it because that would get me so pumped.
You'd have to go. You'd still have to connect online, I believe, for that. But if you have one system and you all want to use the Joy-Cons or whatever, I don't know if it supports Pro Controller in that mode or something. I think it does. Actually, does.
Okay, so Mario Kart 8 only does Wi-Fi for local multiplayer. However, Nintendo hinted that Splatoon 2 will have offline LAN connections.
All right.
What was the hint?
Yeah, this is weird. I'm
Someone
sorry.
quote.
I'm doing this live.
They're
It's
like,
okay.
Well, we'll see.
Damiani, have you felt that you have sufficient control playing it in handheld mode? Do you feel like those Joy-Cons are doing the job?
Oh yeah, it feels like just fine. And the thing I like that they added is I was worried about like accidentally hitting the screen stuff. All touching the screen does is pause the game, and that's actually good because like when you're playing mobile and you like need like something comes up, you need to stop.
Gotcha.
And like even hitting a button, something like you don't even think about it. It's like I put it down, hit the screen at the same time. It's like pause.
Yeah.
Like it's so convenient.
Nice.
Like such a
So
good,
generous.
so generous,
Convenient.
generous drops.
So nice. LAN for Splatoon 2.
Okay.
So generous, Nintendo.
Okay.
So here's the catch with Splatoon 2 LAN is you can only do it through Ethernet.
Well, that's how LAN works.
Well,
You
yeah.
mean the Ethernet that you can't
No, like,
do
Damiani-
unless you have a special adapter?
You and I could play a 3DS game
You're talking
together.
about Wi-Fi, yeah, I know. Like
so there's no
local-
ad
local-
hoc.
Yeah, there's no ad hoc. So,
Yeah.
so like 3DS had local ad hoc. Like you and I could play Mario Kart
Yeah.
without.
So you're basically talking about like Triforce Heroes, where people could download.
That's
if
a
you're
bummer.
only 1% of the game,
Right.
everyone else with the system could still play it by
That should be
sharing
standard.
it. Or some DS games even did that, like the Bleach fighting game. Like I remember Patrick
Yeah.
would bring it, and we just had to bring our DSs, and he would just load the game to us, and we could play.
Right. So
Okay.
if we
Were
want to,
you guys just playing that Bleach fighting game for fun?
Yeah.
All right.
if we want to play Splatoon 2 together with our Switches individually,
Yeah.
and we don't have internet for some reason, we have to just get a little Ethernet hub and Ethernet dongles for each of our Switches
I'm not.
What? How is this?
You'd have to play it in docked mode.
And
now
you have
on
to play in
TVs.
docked mode. Yeah,
I told you it's LAN.
So everybody's docked in.
LAN party, baby. Let's do it.
Oh my goodness.
Let's do it. Easy A LAN party, baby.
Wait, why couldn't we just play on the?
Because it's Nintendo.
We could play on the internet. We
Yeah,
could do Wi-Fi.
Let's just do that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying for Mario Kart, like, how is that just not a standard function in the year 2017 on a brand new console that
It's
just
just weird,
came
Ben,
out?
because the old handhelds had it.
Sure.
I see
Vita
what you're saying.
has
It feels regressive.
3DS has it. Like,
Yeah.
how is that not a standard?
It's all right. They're still working on
function?
it with the virtual console, which still hasn't shown up either.
Damiani, do you feel like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, with it being a re-release, do you think this has any lasting value for you? Does the fact that you can play it on the go change anything? Because I think that's a big reason why I spent more time with Mario Kart DS than any other Mario Kart game.
I mean, I definitely feel like you play it on the go. Obviously, if you don't have access, because it's not a phone, if you don't have access to like Wi-Fi, you're not playing against anyone else. You're just playing it offline.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking it as a game that I'm just gonna have. It's on my Switch. I'm just gonna play it as free time comes up. It's basically replaced Fire Emblem Heroes now. I don't touch Fire Emblem Heroes anymore. When I have like time when I have time to like kill, like I'm waiting
Yeah, but
for.
they put Ike in.
Like I'm downloading something, waiting for something to load or whatever, or just like downtime at home. It's like, yo, Mario Kart. I'll play a course of Mario Kart 8. I'll start a new cup.
He was doing it before the podcast,
Yeah.
and I was so jealous.
Okay,
I really,
hold
truly
on.
was.
Okay.
No.
Here
We need to say how Damiani entered the scene for Frame Trap today.
Yeah.
We were
Paint
sitting
us a
down,
picture.
getting ready to go, talking about things. It was a jovial atmosphere.
Yeah.
Jones was in here. Sophie was in here. We were all kind of getting ready to
Talking about Red Dead.
talking about Red Dead Redemption 2. We were all getting ready to do Frame Trap, and here's what happened. Damiani, last one on the scene, walks in with his Perrier. No words spoken.
Pulls the Perrier
No
out of the
eye
fridge.
contact
Oh,
with
he pulls it out of the
anybody.
fridge.
Walks in,
That's
pops
even-
open the
that's
fridge.
even
No
better.
words.
Doesn't
Yeah.
look
No
at
words.
anyone.
Does not look at anyone, does not acknowledge anyone, no greeting, comes over to the end, sits down, starts playing Mario Kart. We'll just sit there, doesn't look at us. It's like we're not even in the room, just racing away until we start heckling him. No words spoken.
So good.
Too rude. Too rude.
Guys,
So rude.
I
this
really
guy.
can I go off track for like
Yeah, we
1
gotta stop.
minute?
Take the Mario Kart
Yeah,
off track.
I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
Last night I had the most insane Red Dead multiplayer like theory.
Get up into that mic.
Here we go.
Yeah,
Theory. Go,
guys,
get up in this mic. Here we go.
guys.
Red Dead Theorist. Right
Okay.
here.
Right up in it. Right up in it.
Back in the day when I was a kid, I just loved like cops and robberies. And like I love my love for Western films comes from my dad. I love heists. I love bank robberies, train robberies. Love a good, bandit outlaw Western story. What if the multiplayer, when you queue in, you choose whether you want to be an outlaw or like part of civilization, like part of society. So the outlaws, their goal is to break into the town and like rob their banks or rob their saloons or like, they're out in the wilderness on the fringes. They have some like bandit hideouts, but like if you're a good guy, part of society, you can choose to be like a Pinkerton. So your job is to like hunt them down. But you also get an advantage by being part of society because you can freely enter towns. You can buy items from the general store. And then what if other jobs too? What if like one of them you were a saloon owner, so you could set up like poker tournaments in your saloon, and then like other people too. You could like you could hire people to like defend your saloon, or you could be like a bank teller, or like
You cannot be a bank teller.
or like
Nobody picks bank teller.
I would pick a bank
You would
teller.
not pick a bank teller.
But what if that was a way to
I
get?
honestly do think
don't
I
get
would
What
do
if that
that.
was a way to gain a bunch of money? Like a bank teller, you had a secure income, but you also had to defend your bank. And like the outlaws could band together to like attack your bank, but it's gonna be hard. So it's just like this persistent, not really MMO, but like this basically persistent cops versus robbers, really active, engaging. Here's our town, everyone. Like, we're part of this town. We need to defend it. And, like, it's always vulnerable. And the outlaws have to, like, work together to team up and, like, attack the town.
What's great about that is depending on the roles that people inhabit as civilians,
Yeah.
it completely changes the dynamic for what the robbers have to do and the challenges they have to go up against.
Yes. I just freaked out because the other day, we were talking about Red Dead, and I'm not a big fan of GTA 5 Online. Just didn't get into it. There was just so much starting and stopping, load times. Heist took forever to come out. It just by the time Heist came out, I was not engaged. They're gonna go all in on online from the start for Red Dead 2. So and I was just thinking of the fundamentals of cops versus robbers.
The problem with cops versus robbers in real life versus video games is that there's a disproportionate amount of people who want to be robbers.
You would think so, but it comes down to Alliance versus Horde. Star Wars Galaxies. There were still not everyone was a Jedi or bounty hunter. There were still smugglers. There were still entertainers who would just sit in a cantina and play music. You can be a Jedi or a guy that plays music in a band, and people would still choose.
I appreciate what you're saying. Musician. I do think there's a difference between Alliance versus Horde and Bank Teller. I do think there's a drop off.
But you just have to find a way to make Bank Teller engaging, where it's if you defend your bank.
Right.
The longer you defend it without any robberies, you get some rewards.
What?
It's my bank hasn't been robbed for a month.
So what, I get nicer clothes that I can wear in my bank?
Yeah, because
Glamour,
of course,
baby.
because in GTA 5, GTA 5 was all about player housing, and it was super expensive, and there were nicer houses. It's dude, I've got my freaking full-on ranch. Oh, there'd be ranchers?
I do think
just a farmer.
Here we go. Trains. You're gonna be a train.
You can be a train. You can be a conductor.
I do think
train robbery.
What if you some oil baron? I got my oil derricks.
I do think games underestimate the breadth of things that people want to do. You hear about all those crazy EVE Online stories, right? I could totally see you as Michael Huber, knowing what you love and what you care about, just having a bank and just trying to get that pile of money bigger.
Trying to defend it from the robbers.
I could see that being
on that other end of it.
To you.
Okay.
Let's see, Rockstar. What do you got?
Damiani,
they don't have that. I'm going to say they don't have that anymore.
Damiani, there was one other thing you wanted to mention with Gravity Rush.
Oh, yes. So if you have not yet had a chance to play Gravity Rush 2, and you need an excuse, well, here's one that might get you to finally play it.
Free DLC?
The outfit, 2B's outfit from Nier Automata is coming to Gravity Rush 2.
Oh my god.
Available in Japan now already. Will be available in North America on May 5th. And turns Cat into 2B, basically, outfit-wise. Hey, some people are like, I get to play as 2B in Gravity Rush. Like, okay, fine. That's what's going to get you to play Gravity Rush 2.
Whatever it takes.
So be it.
Whatever it takes. Sure.
That I would just like for you to play the game. Try it out. If that, and I'm cool if that's what it takes. So nothing else significant, And remember, it's free. It's free DLC, and so is the side story add-on, Raven Story,
which was delayed, right?
No, it's already out. It came out in time.
Raven's out?
Raven's out.
Yeah, it's been out.
How is it? Do you like it?
I literally streamed everything up to the finishing the final boss, but didn't watch the ending because next stream was starting, and I haven't gone back to watch it. Huh?
Was it me?
No.
Oh, okay.
Was it me?
No, it was us. It was for 14.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to make you and Brad wait. I was like, crap, but we're already 1 minute over. This is gonna be another 10, 15 minutes.
But wait, is the Raven DLC pretty sweet?
I enjoyed it. The majority of the gameplay at the beginning is this weird. The premise of it is she gets trapped in. She becomes her younger self, and she's trying to discover her memories. Oh. So you play as younger her, and she starts growing up. She doesn't have her powers during this part. So there's a weird stealth section where the enemies, you can't fight them. You just have to stay away from them. It's not the whole thing, though. I thought it was going to be like that. Yeah. That's a little different. That might be the most off-putting part. Then it's back to you're Raven. You got Gravity Rush powers.
You got your memories.
Yeah, it's all good to go.
All right.
So it does have more
for the
traditional stuff.
low price of free.
Free.
Yeah. By the way, I really like the intro of Gravity Rush 2. The very beginning is cool.
Oh,
and Gravity Rush 1
intro
too.
Good intros. Her being on
it's first person, dude.
Oh, you're talking about. Oh, I know what you're talking about. The literal intro when you go down.
I actually don't want to.
Yeah.
Specify because it is cool.
Remember when they gave that entire part away in Arkham?
Yes.
Night
at
E3.
At E3.
Yeah, let me just show you the first 5 minutes of the game. That's insane.
That was a dirtbag move. That was a real dirtbag move.
Damiani, I'm really on board with your PSA
Top 10 dirtbag moves
to play Gravity Rush 2 because I think Gravity Rush 2 is a hell of a game. I think more people should play it.
They should.
Damiani, do you want to talk about Nier? Do you have some things that you want to say about Nier?
Do we want to save it?
If you think it's better to save it, I understand that.
I think maybe we should.
Okay.
Let it cook.
Okay.
All right, let it cook.
It's just one of
You
those
guys
games.
are gonna have a really good one.
Yeah, it's just one of those games where it's like you. It feels like you're spoiling anything having any discussion about it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
The less you know, the better, for
Yeah,
sure.
it's one of those.
But I also feel like I have more to say about Nier than any other game in 2017
Yeah.
so far.
By the time we're talking goatees, it will be unleashed.
It will be unleashed.
Now's your chance.
It's just building. It's just
Yeah.
powering up. Yeah, absolutely. All right, then we'll move on. We'll move on to May. And this first one,
Move on to me.
I would really like to direct toward Michael Huber. And before I get started with what I've been playing, I do want to say it's been...
Yes, man.
Oh, boy. It's been a really crazy week. There have been a lot of events and a lot of shoots this week. And so for all of these things, I am way less along than I want to be. I'm still like at the beginning of all of these things.
How
and
do
I
you
wish I
not
was farther.
say it's Ben when somebody says it's Ben? It's impossible now. Thanks, guys.
At this point, Huber,
It's impossible.
it's like I think of it and say, don't do it.
Yeah.
I have that
But then
second
somebody
layer.
else does it, and
Yeah.
because
I don't
you were
have that kind
planning
of
on doing it
self-control, Kyle.
anyway, you laugh even harder. Yeah. Huber, I want to talk about Dawn of War 3.
Nice.
This
I saw
hot
this
new
came out.
RTS from
RTS?
Relic. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it came out. I was like, ah.
And I'm admittedly a Warhammer 40k Dawn of War noob. As I said before, when I did a preview of it, did a preview of the multiplayer. But man, I really like this game a lot. It is cool. Here's why it's cool. They make each of the 3 factions distinct and super, super, super fun.
Can you tell me if there's 2-on-2s?
Yeah,
Multiplayer.
I haven't done multiplayer
Okay.
outside of the... Oh, yeah, there is 2v2. I did 2v2 in the preview event.
Let's
Yes.
2-on-2, dude.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
So I'm in the campaign right now, and what I like is so far you start the first mission you're playing is the Space Marines, and then the second mission you're playing is the Orcs, and the second so they're kind of bouncing back and forth, which I really like. And what it's kind of this RPG RTS hybrid. And the elite units are so fantastic, and just the presentation of what you're doing. So you're playing as these Space Marines, and you have these ranged units, and then you have your Space Marines that are melee. You have these Assault Marines that have these chainsaws, but then you have these elite units. And in the first mission, you're playing as this General Angelo, and he's got this giant hammer that's like crackling with yellow energy. And you're going into a fight, and what he can do is he's a disruptor, so he can leap into the air and slam on a pile of orcs, and they like shoot up into the air. They're going over the edges of walls, and then he can spin his hammer in a whirlwind and knock them all over the place. And it's just, that's what I loved about Warcraft 3. The other RTS that I've played that has a strong hero mechanic is how important those hero units felt. And depending on what you bring into battle, things change so significantly. And again, talking about the factions and how distinct they feel. The Space Marines have these things where you can build units just as you normally would, and they come out of a barracks like they normally would. But you can also, for the Space Marines, they have these pods that you can bring them in, and you can call down the pods at specific times, and that will do damage to an enemy group.
Nice.
Yeah, and then so it's like, okay, I'm replenishing my forces, and I'm doing this huge AoE effect.
Cool.
And I mentioned this before, but what I didn't play is I didn't play as the other 2 factions in the multiplayer preview. I'd only played as the Space Marines and the Orcs. Oh, you would love the Orcs.
I love the Orcs. In Warhammer Online,
Yeah.
playing as the Orcs, I'm just like, oh my god. Some of my favorite Orc design there is. Like, I like the Warhammer Orcs even more than Warcraft Orcs, and those are like some of the best ever. But the like personality.
The personality, yeah. So they
oh.
have these sort of Cockney accents,
Yeah.
and they call their basic assault unit boys with a Z, and it's just that sort of attitude is embedded in the way they play as well. So you can build standard units, but then they're all about scrap, and so everything they have, their buildings, their units, everything is just sort of these like sheets of metal bolted onto each other, and it has this really cool look. And what you can do is these units, there are these piles of scraps that you can find on the ground. You can go and they can salvage that, and they'll just bolt it onto themselves. And so you have your boys, you have your basic unit, but then when they put on the scrap, they're hard boys. And it's really cool. And the hero unit that I've played as so far, he's in this sort of like giant yellow suit, and he's got this extending arm that he can use to get to different places. So let's say there's a break in the ground, your normal melee units couldn't get there. He can shoot his arm over, get there, but he can also swing that arm in a whirlwind. And of course, this does a big AoE effect, but what it also does is it blocks ranged bullets.
Nice.
And so the way that you can sort of micromanagement is you can start that attack, it'll go for a long time. You can have your melee units be protected in that whirlwind.
That's cool. It's like an offense and a defense move.
Right. And so if you have these enemies that are fortified in this position, you can sort of go up there and be like, okay, I'm going to use this move. It has a long cooldown, so I'm going to use it here. Then we're going to go and attack this fortified position. And so it's really cool using abilities like that and then combining them with your other regular units. You would not like the Eldar. I don't think they're kind of the hit and run units. It's a lot of like, okay, slow them down, attack from range. They're not good in melee. Yeah, very
killing the fun.
Sure
for everyone.
Yeah.
Yep.
They are enjoyable. The elite unit that I've played there
sounds real. I respect it though because it's like it's because I care so much. I always get annoyed by those classes that disrupt you and like kill your fun. You know, you always talk about like priest in Hearthstone.
Yeah.
But I always respect how like calculated those are, you know? And the different play style and the different like brain techniques you need to use to be able to play that type of style. I still respect it. But,
yeah. And I love that with those different styles, you can't take the same approach. And overall, I think that's something that Dawn of War 3 does really, really well, and that's why I want to get your opinion of it, playing StarCraft so heavily, is there's this strong focus on offense, specifically. Units die very, very quickly, but Dawn of War 3 lets you know that that's okay. It's not about hanging back, like, the three different factions, they don't have that many units to build. It's more about going out into the field, harassing, pulling back, reinforcing your units. It's this constant, always be on the offensive, always try to be gaining ground.
Cool.
And it makes it really engaging because you have, unless you force the game to play this way, there's kind of this natural flow where you're always fighting. Like, yeah, you might be building units in the back, but it's more about getting out there, being aggressive, doing skirmishes, and I think it makes it exciting. Like these matches, like you talked about relentlessness with Outlast 2.
Yeah.
I kind of feel relentlessness here, obviously in a much different way, but I like that in the campaign missions that I've played so far, it's every fight I'm in, it's not just like send my huge wave of dudes there. It's like, all right, how can I, since I don't have that many dudes, how can I use them most efficiently? What are their individual abilities? How do I protect them? That kind of thing.
I'm interested.
Really cool.
I'm interested to see if that transitions into multiplayer, or if people will turtle up and come at you in a huge wave.
So it does transition into multiplayer because what they do, and I need to spend some more time with it, but this is my understanding of it so far, is early on they'll refund unit deaths. And then that refund will decrease over time. And so the idea is, no, it's okay. Don't treat your units as so precious early on. Like, the idea is like, no, we want you fighting in the first minute of the game, which I really like.
Are there creeps to kill for like your
creeps?
Hero? Like little
like
mobs?
in a MOBA.
No, not that I've encountered
like
so far.
Send your hero out in the beginning to kill like NPCs.
No, it is go fight the other players that I've experienced.
No creeps.
No creeps.
In the environment, there are like health packs that you can use to sort of restore them.
Is there an item shop for your hero?
No, there's no item shop for your hero. No. Okay. The idea is, so the way that
does
you
your
get
hero
these,
level up?
Yes, your hero does level up. Not in the match itself, but
persistently.
Yes.
Okay, I'm wondering how that is in multiplayer.
Well, the way that it works is you have these elite units. You can pick 3 of them that you send into battle, and you have early game elites that you get pretty quickly because you'll accrue elite points throughout the match. And so depending on how you build it, it's like, all right, do I want a bunch of late game elite units so when I get there, I'll just have this huge amount of power, or do I want elite units early on that'll be able to swarm and get me that early advantage? You were talking about different styles. They have doctrines that enhance that even further. And so you have a bunch of different doctrines. Some of them apply to your whole army. Some of them apply to specific elite units, where it's like they force you to play a certain way. So it's like, here I'm going to focus on melee, or here I'm going to focus on this specific unit type. So even within the 3 factions, there are different ways to play them based on the doctrines. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
How do you apply a doctrine?
You pick it before the match starts. Before you go into the match, it's like, I want these 3 elite units.
So I'm not changing those on the fly.
No,
I'm
you're not
committed to
changing
my
on the fly.
doctrine.
It's a commitment to that certain style.
Cool.
Yeah.
Want to play?
Yeah.
Do you know
Wanna
your
play,
opponent's
man?
doctrine before entering the match?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Okay. That'd be an interesting secret, I think.
Counter pick, or
Yeah.
like you each pick one at a time?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I want to play. I want to play, man.
There's kind of been this backlash against the community where it's very different from Dawn of War 1 and very different from Dawn of War 2, and so a lot of people are like, I don't like this. It's not RTS enough for me, because there are builder units that can repair buildings and build new structures, but there's not workers. You're not having people mining minerals. The way that you get new materials is you go and you capture points, and then you build things on those points that automatically generate resources.
And everything you were just telling me, it sounds way more active, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of turtling. It's like you have to move.
Right, and so it fits the overall design philosophy, which I really like. I don't have that perspective. I wasn't a huge I just don't know anything about Dawn of War 1 or Dawn of War 2, and so just kind of appreciating it on its own, it's like, this is cool. This feels different than what I've played before, and it seems like an exceptionally smart game. It's something that I'm excited to dig more into. What I will say, one criticism, again, just because I've been focusing on the campaign, I think the story is pretty poorly presented. You have this awesome opening cinematic that just does a great job of selling sort of the badassness of the characters and of the world.
That came out a while ago. It was insane, right?
That was,
right.
Yeah.
It shows the 3 sides and a huge like wall of
Yes.
bodies.
Yes.
And
Dude,
yes.
yes.
Really cool.
It's great. It does
Worth
a great job
Googling.
of setting the tone, and then you get into the actual missions themselves, and the briefings and the debriefings. It's like, all right, well, here's this static image of just these people talking. It's like StarCraft 1 briefing.
They got a
and
budget,
debriefing.
Ben. They got a budget.
I understand that. I'm just
they
saying
blew it all on that opening.
Sure. I'm just saying it's the story that they're telling doesn't seem particularly riveting, and it's not presented in a way to compensate for that sort of basic structure. It's like, hey,
even the orc cutscenes, they got so much personality.
Well, and that's the thing is in the campaign itself, like when a mission starts, there's a lot going on. In that very first mission with the Space Marines, you're coming into this battle. These people that you're trying to save are being overwhelmed. You see these giant mechs in the background fighting off these orcs. Like in the actual missions themselves, it's pretty great. It's just the things booking them are a little underwhelming. All right, next thing I want to talk about Prey. Because there's no embargo for this. Yeah, on Tuesday.
Early May.
Immersive sim.
I think
They're calling it that, dude.
Yeah. Call it that. As you should.
I played 2 hours of it on Tuesday, and I walked away very impressed.
Nice.
Ben, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
I see of Huber as like a hype man. So you're an MC, right?
Yeah.
And Huber's speech is meant to go simultaneously with yours. It's
Right.
meant to bounce back and forth. Mm-hmm. So when you say pray and he says immersive
Pray.
sim,
Yeah.
Sim.
like you're just supposed to bounce back and forth. Like
Yeah.
I realize like that's the flow of this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be hard sometimes, though. Like when you guys are talking,
Yeah.
and that hype is coming in, it's easier to bounce off of. But when it's like when I'm trying to describe this game,
Yeah.
I think some people read it sometimes as like I'm not acknowledging Huber, but it's just I can't respond to immersive sim because I'm trying to get the facts straight in my head. That's all that's going on.
You don't have to respond to like holla or we're in this. You know
spend
what I mean?
enough-
He's just a hype man.
Right.
You spend enough
like,
time with me
like
to
it's
know.
like I hear the echo of it, and I
Yeah.
appreciate it, but it's like, okay, what is this thing? I've got to try to explain it.
It's an immersive sim.
I don't know if I would apply immersive sim here.
Yeah, maybe not, because there's not really like dialogue choices, are there, in this?
There
part?
are very much choices, and we'll get into that in just a second. But the way that I would kind of sell Prey is it is a System Shock or a. I guess for people not familiar with System Shock, it is a Deus Ex,
it's immersive.
Human Revolution or Mankind Divided with horror elements, and the
the horror elements is why I might not play this game.
Yeah. Well, the thing that you're fighting, these aliens.
The little slimy ones.
Yeah, they
They're
got me
everywhere.
a couple of times. I jumped a few times, and they're really cool enemies.
Hello.
They because they can
Hello?
Yeah, oh, that's
so you
right.
have these mimics.
Yeah.
And they're these everything is black goo.
Yeah.
And that takes different forms, and there's this ecology to that goo. They evolve and they change, and like higher level aliens can transform lower level aliens and sort of bring them up to that next level, which is kind of neat.
They can
seeing that.
disguise themselves as like coffee cups.
So the
right?
mimics, the mimics,
Yeah.
they do this. The mimics are just kind of annoying to fight on their own because they can just dart back and forth, but they can also disguise themselves as things. And so this game uses health packs. You don't have regenerating health. Health
Perfect.
packs are a hot
resource.
commodity, right? So you'll see a health pack and be like, "Oh, I really want that," and you'll go and you'll try to pick it up, and it's a mimic, and you just lost even more health.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you have a chance to not lose health if you interact with something that's a mimic? Do they appear and then you fight them, or it's like there's an item, I go to pick it up, oh, it's a mimic, I lose
You can kind
health?
of circumvent that bad outcome is you get a scan item. You get a scope, basically. And so if you put that scope on, if you're using it, if you're trying to go through the environment methodically, you can be like, okay, I've scanned a mimic. I know that thing is disguising itself. And so you can get the jump on it.
Cool.
Yeah. But
Does the scanner have a battery, or is that unlimited?
no, the scanner doesn't have a battery, but the scanner is really cool because depending on the types of things that you scan, you get access to different upgrades. So the idea is like, okay, I've learned more about these aliens, therefore I get access to alien upgrades.
Cool.
That I wouldn't get if I didn't scan them, if I didn't get more information.
I guess my question is, what is the penalty, or is there one for using?
There
the
is a
scanner?
penalty.
Okay, perfect,
Yeah, so
perfect.
this is something that I think is really cool about Prey is there are so many different ways to upgrade your character. Much like Deus Ex, you'll get into a room and it's like, okay, how do I get to this next area? Well, there's electricity going over it. If I had this skill, if I had this engineer skill, I could repair this panel, get rid of the electricity, and go through. If I increased, I think it's the soldier skill, I could lift this heavy object and get through that way. And so there are a bunch of different things kind of vying for your attention.
Nikita Rocket. Right through.
Why aren't there more? Why isn't there more of that? I loved that.
I don't know.
It's a great thing.
It's a way to handle electric floors.
But with these alien upgrades, they're very, very powerful. They give you access to these special supernatural abilities. But if you use them, the security, these bots, these turrets, these security robots will recognize you as aliens and they'll start attacking you. So if you didn't go that route, you'd be fine. And so that's sort of the dynamic at play. And also characters might interact with you differently depending on how alien you go.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Cool.
There was a really great
That's
moment
so cool.
right.
that
I
I don't,
love that, dude. You're like becoming more alien.
It's
That
an
is-
interesting risk reward for sure. I like
Yes.
that.
There is something if you don't want to hear. I'm not going to detail everything explicitly, but there is a moment that I do want to highlight.
Okay.
That I think is really cool. So I was still learning the ropes. I was kind of I wasn't playing from the very beginning of the game. I was throwing a few hours in, so I was still trying to get a handle on everything, all the controls. And so I had a lot of dumb moments where I took a lot of damage that I didn't need to, and I used a lot of health packs, and I was out of ammo. And so I really needed resources. And I ran into the situation where there was this character sort of locked in this cell, and the game gave me a very good reason to not trust him. But if I did choose to let him out, he said he would give me access to this armory. And so the information that I had, there was ample reason to select both sides, and the decision I went with ended up helping me so much.
Access to the armory.
Access to the armory. But that guy could have totally just busted out
Yeah.
and killed me. And so they did a great job of making that choice. Like they made the reward super enticing, but they made it ambiguous enough that I wasn't fully sure either way. And so it was this moment, like when I hit that button and I let him out,
You
it
were
was this
nervous.
moment of tension. Because immediately after that, he's like, "Hey, there are other people like me that you're going to encounter, and they totally will kill you." And so yeah, it was like, "Hey, this isn't gonna work every time. It just happened to work here." That's awesome. So I thought that was really cool. Yeah.
How's the shotgun?
The shotgun is good. The shotgun is very powerful, and the way that I got it in the demo, I only had a pistol and a wrench up to that point, and so there were these things that these predators that were taking me a lot of shots to get, and then when I finally got the shotgun, which I think I got in the armory, that I unlocked this guy, and I think I did.
Nice.
That may not be correct, but I think I did. So I felt even better. I was taking down these predators in 1 or 2 shots.
Nice.
So
It's got a
that
good
was
sound,
really cool.
good boom to it.
It's got a good boom.
It's got
to
a
it.
good pop.
Nice.
Oh.
Yeah, it's got a good pop.
It's like a low, like deep rumble pop, or like a high pitched pop. Like, is it like a boom, like a doosh?
It's like that. It's like a guttural pop. Like
Guttural pop. Okay, not like a pop.
No, not like a pop gun.
Good,
yeah,
good.
Yeah.
Good.
Do you feel better about that?
satisfied,
I mean, you are the shotgun expert.
I want,
so
like, you
I
gotta
need your
have a
opinion.
low, thunderous boom, not just like a normal, just like a doosh, like a pop. It's gotta be low, like lightning, thunder.
Yeah.
Need it. Sound is half the battle for a shotgun.
You can play the first hour of Prey now. Maybe the shotgun is in there. Give me your impression of it. The other thing that Prey is sort of a big hook for it is this psychological element, where again, because I was just kind of thrown into it, it was hard to get a great sense of it. But you are given reason to doubt everything around you, to doubt what everyone is saying to you. And so you're kind of going through, and again, it sort of feeds into the exploration where, because you're doubting everything, the more that you find these text files and these audio logs, it will kind of fill in that mystery. And so there's story reason for going and exploring, not just item stuff. And I like that, and I hope it's done well. I hope that it isn't obvious what's going on, that you don't figure it out too soon.
I need to know
I haven't got a real sense of that.
one important thing.
Yeah.
A lot of problems with immersive sims.
Immersive sim.
Even like Fallout, Dishonored, Deus Ex. A lot of methodical, pace, immersion breaking, scrounging and searching every nook and cranny for items. I feel like this type of flow has not been mastered in these games because you're so encouraged to get supplies and search for secrets, search for secret air vents or logs that give you story, or just items, because it's, especially Prey too, it's like more survival horror. Were you in this time you played, were you constantly getting to a new room and then just stopping everything and like searching, opening this drawer, pick up one bullet, opening this cabinet, nothing, open this cabinet, nothing? Is there a lot of that?
I totally get where you're coming from. I hate it in games where I need a few specific things, but it feels like I have to sort through a bunch of garbage just to get those things.
Yeah.
So 2 things. One, again, I was just kind of thrown in a couple of hours into this game, and what I needed was accentuated by the fact that I wasn't very familiar with it. So going through naturally, how I approach different rooms will feel different, but also, yes, every room I was going around and I was searching for things, but there wasn't that many things in the rooms, and all of it was useful.
Cool.
I wasn't feeling like, oh man, I constantly got to go into my inventory and sort things around. It was like, all right, I go into this room, here are 3 things I need, I go and I do it, and it felt pretty straightforward.
Well, Huber, I think that's cool in a survival horror game. To be scrounging,
Yes, it's
I think
better
that
in
is
survival
natural
horror,
for the
for
character.
sure. But it's just it also
But it can be
depends
done
too.
poorly.
It can be done really poorly. Like, it can also have to do with like in Deus Ex, like every cabinet basically you can interact with.
Yeah.
So you go in a room and it's like I have to open like 7 cabinets and like 6 drawers.
But I'm thinking of like The Last of Us. I'm almost never standing.
Totally.
I'm almost always crawling around, going through
Totally.
everything, and I feel like that's part of what the character's doing. That's part of the survival.
Totally.
And I can see that working in Prey. Dude, this is a scary space station.
For sure.
It's a space station, right?
I don't think it's a space station.
Oh, what is it?
Space village,
But again,
space
you start
world.
that game in your apartment, and then some crazy lab stuff happens at a place that you work
Oh,
in the world.
okay.
But yeah, again, what I've seen of Prey is a little bit disconnected, and
Got it,
so
got it.
I'm
Sure.
doubting myself on the exact setting, because they toy with your perception of the setting. Again, there's
It's just,
another element.
I think of Alien Isolation, it does it really well, because there are those moments when you're going through kind of annoyingly scavenging, looking in every nook and cranny, but then they'll throw the alien in there.
You're running.
And it's like Outlast style, where then it turned, Outlast 2 does it really well. It's like, dude, you need those batteries. You need to find this stuff. But when you're under pressure, you can't really look and stuff, which I appreciate.
I get what you're saying, Kyle, where it is important to want to search for things. But that's the key word there is the want. I think if you have a survival horror game and you get to a point where you're sick of sorting through things because it doesn't feel meaningful anymore, like you've just erased all of that tension, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
Michael Damiani, how you doing over there? Do you have any interest in Prey?
Sorry.
I'm most curious to hear about you talking about just like what had changed from, remember, because the whole original like thing.
The bounty hunter game?
Yeah.
That's completely gone.
Yeah, I know.
That was
it's just
interesting point to bring up.
I don't want to say amusing. It's very intriguing to hear how it's turned out now versus what I saw that CG trail. It's like, that's not.
We need a Jeff Keighley documentary on the entire thing. Final hours.
Let's
go.
There you go.
Come on, Keighley. I want to see this story. Like I want to. It's super interesting for sure. Especially because Prey 2, like connecting to Prey 1, even Prey, that was a huge shift.
Right.
And then now that cancel and then remake this, it's just that whole Prey 1, Prey 2, now Prey again is crazy story.
I haven't played through all of Prey, but very quickly when I was into it, it just felt like this clear cutoff. This is this own original world that we're establishing.
Yeah.
Here are these.
Which I honestly think is the right thing to do.
Oh, heck yeah. I think this game's going to do well.
I think
you do?
Yeah.
I do too.
I think it's going to do real well.
I think it is. I think it's going to review well.
Yep.
Cool.
But what's interesting is
very positive feeling for Prey.
Comparing it, and you talk about innovation and sometimes how that can be a dirty word for you, or where people can overemphasize that.
When they say, it's not innovative enough.
Right.
Something can be business as usual and great,
Every element of Prey that I experienced in my demo, I could point to another thing that was done very similarly, but all of the systems felt really well thought out. That yes, it was taking these things from these other games, but it was putting its own spin on it, and that was enough.
Yeah.
Like
Kyle, I relate to you so much. I always bring it back. Like when you talk about Mass Effect, like you're going on a space adventure. You're on like this scary space station with alien monsters in disguise. That is awesome.
You get to play that game.
Yeah,
I get you.
Pumped.
Yeah.
So scary.
Yeah.
That's a good.
So scary.
So scary. So scary, Bethesda.
Oh my gosh.
I'm excited for that.
I was going to talk about Monster Hunter Double Cross because I have been trying to overcome some hurdles in understanding the game because I'm playing it in a different language. And I have messed around with the Brave style, and I've got some things to say for that. But I think to have a more meaningful conversation of it once I've experienced more elements of that game, once I've kind of got out of the beginning areas, I'm going to save that for the next Frame Trap. So we are going to talk about Monster Hunter Double Cross.
We'll do a spoiler mode for it.
That's the one where you're working for the monsters, right? And then like you reveal that you've been working for the humans all along.
Yeah, and then Duke Nukem comes in, and he says,
"Shake it, baby."
Wow, that's a big boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was actually thinking about our Duke Nukem game. He can't get arrested just for saying "shake it, baby." So he does get arrested, but it's got to be something even worse than
he says "shake it, baby" to a civilian, not a stripper.
You don't go to jail for that.
He's harassing someone.
You go to jail for saying "shake it, baby" to someone?
Well, if he comes up and he's being all weird and creepy and harassy, it's like, get out of here, Duke. I don't who are you? Get away from me.
So maybe he just gets sued. Gets sued. Ooh, I like the undercover cop. It's still, you don't get arrested, dude.
They think he was soliciting then.
Yeah. Sounds like something Duke would be doing too, man. Duke is shady.
Another game that I've been meaning to bring up on this show is Cosmic Star Heroine because it looks so cool.
Yeah.
I really want to get my hands on it. I just haven't had a chance to. We'll
Next
do
episode?
Monster Hunter. Yeah, we'll do Monster Hunter Double Cross and Cosmic Star Heroine for sure next episode. That's a promise. But what isn't a disappointment? What has just filled me with joy? I've loved it so much, and I don't know if you will love it as much if you're not really into Dragon Quest, but man, I think Dragon Quest Heroes 2 is really cool. And here's why I think it's really cool, is because it is not a Muso game that is trying to take elements from somewhere else. It feels like a Dragon Quest game that has Muso elements within it. Because in the first Dragon Quest Heroes, you have sort of this hub. You have this ship where you go and you do all of your things.
Love that ship.
I love it too. I love it too. But this is even better. This is a huge interconnected world where you start the game, you go and you go to this big castle. And in this castle, you go and you talk to the king, and then you go and you do all this other stuff. And this place has weight to it because it's connected to all of the other areas that you're going to. You'll go from that field to that castle to these dunes. You'll do a mission, and then halfway through that mission, you can go back to that castle. It's this big place that you can explore, and it feels like a Dragon Quest game.
Feels less grindy, huh? Because it's like not, the other one was so structured, and it's, do this mission, now do this mission. It just felt repetitive.
Right, yeah.
Whereas this has
that's a great way of saying it, yeah. Where I think in Dragon Quest Heroes 1, by the end of the game, I was getting really worn down because it was like you got into this structure where it was like, okay, go and either do a side quest or do a story quest, come back to the ship, go back again, and it just got very repetitive where you have these wild zones where you can go and maybe there's somebody that's being attacked by monsters that you can go and save, and you can just grind that way if you want to, or you can go to the tavern area and you can get a map and you can go in and co-op with your friend, and so there's so many ways to kind of break up the mission thing that I really like. But the best thing about it is the presentation and the charm. The two lead characters are much more charismatic. I have their names written down. So you can choose either the boy or the girl, Teresa or Lazarel, and they're cousins, and they're both training to be these warriors. And you have this amazing opening cinematic where they're going in the training. The voice acting is so on point. It's really well written. It's sharp. It's witty. They're having this banter back and forth as they're dueling, and you immediately go, "Wow, I like these characters." And I have not said that.
Yeah.
I was saying this in the first 10 minutes of a game. I've never said that in the first 10 minutes of a Mega Force game in my life, where I was like, "I like you.
Muso,
I want to see what happens."
Likeable Muso characters.
Yeah, and much like Dragon Quest, right? If you summarize the plot of any Dragon Quest game, it's pretty simple,
but
right?
effective.
But effective because of they embellish that simplicity. They make it warm. That happens here. You have these two warring nations, and you go to this Harba, I think, or he's something like that. You go to this king. He has this big headdress on, and he's pleading to you like, "Hey, we don't want to fight. Go figure out what's going on with them." And he's just this big, jolly fellow. And then immediately after that, you run into Tornico, the jolly merchant from 4, and he wants to figure out why he's in this different world, but he also just wants to get a good deal. And you take him back to town, and he's trying to figure out what's going. He's like running around all the different shops. He's like, "Can I find this legendary weapon that I'm searching for?" And it's just like, I like you. I'm okay with doing these battles where I'm just mashing my way through, because I'm so invested in these characters. Again, it's not that outlandish, but it's effective. The other thing, monster medals. So in the first Dragon Quest Heroes game, when you would defeat enemies, occasionally they would drop a medal and you could summon them. And they all kind of did the same thing. You just kind of put them out in the field and they would attack for you. Here there are 3 different types. There's a support type that might restore your MP or something like that. There's a sentry type where it's very much like the first game, where they'll come in and they'll plop down and kind of go around the map and fight things for you. But then there's the substitute medal. And it is great. It is so much fun, where you will transform for a brief period of time into that monster. So you'll be the giant golem. You'll be the slime. You'll be the giant, the mech thing with the crossbow and the sword.
What about Hackzilla?
I have not fought a
T-Rex
Hackzilla.
lizard with the axe.
Yeah, I know what you're talking. Hackzilla's great. I have not ran into a Hackzilla yet. But
Hackzilla.
It's cool because they're so powerful. These substitution medals, they don't last very long, but you like, let's say you take a...
And do they all play differently? Like
they all play differently. They all have 3 different moves that have different effects. Yeah, so like you could be this cloud and you're just like emitting bolts of electricity everywhere. It's really fun. It's a good addition. I like Dragon Quest Heroes too.
Ben, can I tell you something really interesting?
Yeah.
So on Game Informer, there's a video called 4 Ways Dragon Quest Heroes 2 Falls Short of Its Predecessor. and it brings up the same points you brought up here
Yeah.
as negatives.
Really?
Yeah.
Hilarious.
That's interesting.
So I watched this.
Funny when that happens.
Doesn't like the open world, doesn't like the flatness of the story, and doesn't like the additions of the coins. It says they're less strategic than they were in the first, and so it's really
man.
interesting watching that video and then listening
Yeah.
to you here.
It's funny.
There's some of those that like maybe I could see that perspective. The medals I totally don't understand because like every medal felt so similar in the first game.
In the first one, it'd be like, okay, tower defense. All right, there's 4
Right.
different ways to go. I'm going to put my medal on this lane, and I'm going
Right.
to go over to that lane.
Where and
Every
like
time.
the support medals, they just come out, they do one thing and they're done, and you only have a limited amount of space, and so because like you even have to think, do I want to fill up my medal pouch with these things that I can only use very briefly? Am I even going to need MP to this fight? I just think inherently, because of the different types, there's way more strategy there. Regarding the flat story, again, it is super simple, but
I read the GameSpot review,
Yeah.
and they gave it an 8 out of 10, and
Yeah.
they said the story is the reason that it's way better than the first.
Yeah,
Ooh.
It's because they cared so
Nice.
much. They were like, the first one is just like, you're just hacking and slashing, Muso.
Right.
Cool.
They were
Good.
blown away by how good the story was.
And here's the first story of Dragon Quest Heroes. Okay, so humans and monsters are coexisting. Something happens, the monsters turn bad. The entire game, it's like, oh, why are these like?
The
It's
evil
even
Nobunaga
more
guy.
simple. Like I don't want to over exaggerate the quality of the storytelling in Dragon Quest Heroes 2, but there is a political dynamic here. There's warring factions in addition to
Zootopia.
these monsters causing a rampage.
How's the
There's a
economy?
history with these cousins and this mysterious other person who's working with the invading kingdom.
Third party.
I just
a
feel like
third party.
immediately there's a lot more going on in Dragon
Kyle,
Quest
you
Heroes
know
than
me.
was.
How's the economy been?
How's the economy?
You just buy everything?
I'm still very early on.
Yeah.
So keep that in perspective. But
I mean, like, I asked, I know it's become
Yeah.
a joke at this point when I ask about economies,
Yeah.
but I am curious to see because I feel like it would help the exploration as well. It's like when you go off exploring in Dragon Quest Heroes 2 and you find something, is it
Yeah.
meaningful or?
yeah,
Because it's still a Muso game and you know, you're always so overpowered in these.
right. And so talking about the open world, and we were talking about open worlds being meaningful. I don't think the open world or the semi-open world in Dragon Quest Heroes 2 is particularly amazing. I mean, they're just big spaces with monsters kind of littered about, and you can do the Muso thing where you go and you just kill a whole bunch of them. Occasionally there will be somebody that says, hey, I'm in danger, and you go and you help them out and they'll give you something. But again, I think the missions themselves that I've done so far are interesting. Do have different phases, do have a storytelling aspect to them that's really cool. And so having kind of this space where you can just go and mess around is okay because there are other things going on that like it's not focusing too much on these big spaces. Regarding the economy, I wanted to get new weapons before I went into a mission. I didn't have enough money, so that is what incentivized me to go and do this extra bonus dungeon to go get some more money to go
all I
get
needed to
weapons.
say.
Yep.
I don't know if
Perfect.
that's gonna
That's
last the
just
entire
enough.
game, but yeah, that was my incentive for checking out this additional thing.
Nice.
Yeah, I do want to say though, like having recently spent a ton of time, like 80 hours with Dragon Quest 7. No, maybe it's 70 hours, somewhere around there. I spent a lot of time with Dragon Quest 7. When Maribel and Ruff came on the screen, like I really like Maribel now. I didn't before. I like her now. She's just so sassy. And then Ruff, seeing them in 3D, seeing them talk to each
I like
other.
Maribel.
Yeah, seeing them sass the party. Was like, oh, this is cool. This probably won't mean anything to you if you don't care about these characters, but seeing them look this good, not be on that handheld screen, not be the sprite-based thing of the PlayStation version, that was really cool. But again, that's not going to have the same effect for anybody. I think Dragon Quest Heroes 2 is good. I want to get
Nice.
your opinion on it. I want to get somebody else's opinion on it because maybe it's not as good as I think it is, but man, I'm having a great time. The other thing is that Berserk game is so trash that maybe it's shaping my opinion a little bit. Damiani. Question for you, throwing it back to you. What can we do to make you play Dragon Quest 11?
Ooh, good question.
Yeah, Damiani, what the hell can we do?
He's playing. He's playing.
You've just decided?
Yeah.
Come on, Damiani.
Depends when it comes out. When the U.S. release.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just play a hypothetical situation here. Let's say it comes out June 2nd, 2018.
No, that's too far. What if we say October 2017?
Are you holding out hope that it's coming out?
Yes. We say the end of the year. October 28th. 2017.
I'm reviewing Mario, so don't worry about that.
Oh, Kyle's reviewing a game?
Yep, I'm reviewing Mario.
Holy-
If you review Mario, dude,
Are we
please.
locked in?
I can't tell if this is a
This is our hypothetical. No, this is our hypothetical.
Oh, we were
Dragon
so close.
Dragon Quest is October, and so Damiani's gonna be like, "No, I got
so
Mario,"
close.
and you're gonna be
don't
like, no, dummy, and I've got
Yeah.
that taken care of.
yeah. So here's my promise: if Dragon Quest comes out in October in the U.S., then I will review Mario.
Perfect.
In order for Damiani to play
To
Dragon
play
Quest.
11.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so with all this information,
I'm probably inclined to play the PlayStation 4 version. Without all your need to convince me.
Turn-based battles, baby.
Whether
Turn-based,
I-
yeah.
whether-
You're craving that turn-based battle
Whether
system.
I finish or not is a matter of how good the game actually is.
just a fair shake. That's all
Give
I
it a
ask.
fair shake.
Give it a fair shake.
Don't go
I
in.
like-
Don't.
I like-
all I ask is that when you push start to go into the game, you're not complaining about Toriyama's art style immediately.
I don't know if that's
At least
gonna
give it the first 2 hours before
I've
your
already seen stuff
first
about it, so it's kind of hard.
before
but
your first quip
the
about Toriyama's art
world
style.
itself, the environments look pretty good. So maybe the world will be so beautiful and
it's
well
beautiful.
designed that the character stuff is like, it's cool. We're cool here.
Here's the thing, Damiani. I totally respect that you just don't like the Toriyama art style. Some things just don't click with people. And this is going to sound very hypocritical. I don't love the idea of bullying people into games. I don't
course,
think
yes, of course.
I don't think everybody has to play everything,
No.
regardless of how enthusiastic you are about it. But here's why I do want you to play Dragon Quest XI, and here's why I posed the question in the first place. Just like with the Final Fantasy X thing, I thought it was like, oh man, these are really good opinions that you have. These are insightful opinions. I value your opinion on RPGs
Yep.
and would like your take
On the battle system,
on this 5-star
In the
out of
world.
No, I'm just kidding.
the 6 out of
Gotta
5
get
star.
that Cloudbuster sword in Dragon Quest XI.
Probably.
sword and everything.
Lightning will reveal herself.
Lightning's in it.
This was all planned during the 14 when she came. They said, "Yo, down the line,
Dude, lightning,
the slime of the
lightning in the Toriyama art style?
Yep.
Yes.
When the Dragon Quest event in 14 happened, it was for down the road. It was like, "Yo, we
And
want
guess
lightning."
What, Ben? If you pre-order Dragon Quest XI in North America, the PlayStation 4 version, you will get a DLC code for Final Fantasy 14 to finally get the slime hat.
That's
new
the only
version.
thing I want in Final Fantasy 14.
You
I will stop playing
They
Final
will give
Fantasy
you
14 when I
an
get this
assortment
pink
of
slime
colored
hat.
slime hats.
Yeah.
Finally.
Because I remember, Damiani, I remember like a year or two ago, I was like, Damiani, I missed this Dragon Quest event. I just want this King Slime hat. It's the only thing I want
It's
in the
like
game.
weird.
And you were dismissive. You were like, they'll just put it on the store. Don't worry
It's
about
like
it.
one of the only things
It's
they have.
never
it.
been on the
And
store. And I was like,
it's their company.
Damiani,
I don't get.
you gave me false
I have
hope.
no idea why, because it's Square Enix's, their property. There's nothing holding them back from that. It's just strange. Real quick, I knew somebody who played 14 who was like you, missed the event.
Yeah.
And they were a huge Dragon Quest fan. They got so upset with it. They stopped playing 14 and went to go play Dragon Quest 10 instead.
Nice.
Just so
Because of the hat?
Strange act of rebellion.
Yeah.
they were like,
Yeah.
that's it, fine. I can't have my RP in this game.
so
I will
funny.
go play the real thing then. Bye, 14. You
God.
had your chance.
And you never saw that person again.
Nope, they knew Japanese, so they just had a grand old time in 10. Just
Wow.
like, still playing it apparently. It's like, whoa. Insane. Still playing it.
Disappeared.
Rebellion.
There are a lot of things that I want to do, fantasy scenarios. I think I would give all of them up. I really believe this. If I could do a Dragon Quest 10 stream with you in English. I know. That would be something.
God, I wish. Switch, dude. Come on.
Yes.
Dragon Quest 10 on the Switch.
We're 3 hours and almost 7 minutes into this podcast. Are we ready to move on?
I'm so worried about the stream.
It's coming out.
Oh, right. We're streaming today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
in
what
30
time? All right.
minutes.
We're streaming in 30 minutes?
Yeah.
That's six,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow. All right. We're going to have to hurry this along. I thought that was at 7 for some reason. It's kind of anticlimactic now.
We can still have a climax.
Yeah.
We can still have a climax. You're
We got
right.
time.
You're right.
Yeah.
Don't
30
panic.
minutes is a
Keep
long
it cool.
time.
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready for this week's?
Hello.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Hello.
That is a hello.
Hello. So this is the second time this has happened, I think, like in the last 3 episodes, where we've actually kind of already commented on the theme of the HOTTAKE early on in the episode. The theme of this HOTTAKE, what I've been thinking about, is giving games second chances. Where we've commented a lot about how hard it is to keep up with the flood of quality releases, and Here's the Storm 2.0 is what really got me thinking. I reviewed Heroes of the Storm. I played it a bunch. I was playing it every day. I was loving it. But now we're at a point where so many things are competing for my attention that when a game comes out with new stuff, even if it's completely retooling itself, it's hard for me to find space to play a game. And so what is it for you guys that makes you want to give a game a second chance? How willing are you to give a game a second chance? And the other thing that I want to throw in is, how does a game being early access affect your opinion of it, and your opinion on giving it a second chance?
I'm always down for second chances.
Always.
Always. I think remasters are a great example of second chances for people that have played or people that missed it the first time around. That's basically a second chance.
Sure.
I'm not too fond of early access. I try to stay away from a game when it's in early access to wait for the full release. The best example of that is The Forest, that's been in early access for 3 years. 3 years of early access. Seems like a really long time to be waiting for this game. So I played it like pretty early on, and it was tough because it was like, all right, I want to wait for this game to come out, but it's like still kind of here. This is, it's not really a story-driven game. It's kind of like a survival, and maybe I don't really need the full release. So it's like, okay, maybe I'll play it, in a little bit. And it's been early access for 3 years.
Will you ever, when it comes out, will you give it another chance?
I don't know. It's been so long. The
Sure.
hype has kind of died down. It's kind of been too long.
I completely agree with you on early access. There have been several games that I've played in early access that I've enjoyed. And then I'll have to move on for one reason or another. And then by the time that 1.0 release happens, this is how I feel, where I feel like it's cool that you're improving on this, maybe fixing some of the glitches, adding some new things, but I feel like I've already played enough of it that there isn't a strong enough reason for me to return. Like, I've already played the game, and you haven't done enough to make me excited about that final release. And so it really does sap a lot of that enthusiasm out. And I feel that way I can't be the only one who feels that way, because I think there are a lot of early access games that sort of kind of get a buzz where they're fun to stream for a little bit, and then they just kind of die down.
Yeah.
And then they fail to keep that momentum. Do you guys agree with that?
So here, I've played 0 early access games on my own. I've played a couple at game trailers and 0 in my time at Easy Allies. So I don't know. I don't even like dip in, Ben. I don't want to see a game before it's finished.
Me too.
To me, like, I'm not into the nitty gritty of the game coming together. And so, I'm not going to give it
because it's going to be better when it's released.
Yeah.
It feels like
I totally get the appeal.
It feels like a pre-patched game. It's got problems.
It's got problems, and you get to see a game getting assembled. I see how that can be exciting.
Yeah.
You're almost like in on the development, and you can give feedback, and they're listening and things like that. I get it. I don't want to be a part of it.
It reminds me of when I play PC games sometimes, and I'll notice a little hitch, and then I will spend the next, I don't know, sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes it's 30 minutes, sometimes it's an hour trying to tweak my settings. And I can't enjoy the game because I'm like staring too much at every little performance thing, how it looks. Like, I'm just fiddling with settings too much. That's kind of early access, where you have this sense where it's like, I'm not playing the best version of this.
Yeah.
Is that what's sort of clouding your judgment?
Yeah.
I think of Darkest Dungeon, early access.
Did you play it early access?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
But Ian and Ben did, and I was like, oh my god, I can't wait for Darkest Dungeon. But I wanted to wait because the Darkest Dungeon wasn't even in the game yet. So I was like, all right, I'm playing Darkest Dungeon, but there's no Darkest Dungeon. And that game, like, they balanced and changed like so many nitty gritty numbers, because of the difficulty and the balance of the game. But I wanted to wait. I waited a very long time for that game to fully release, but when it did, I was there.
Damiani, how willing are you to give games a second chance?
I mean, it depends on the situation. With Huber saying like remasters, I feel that's where I've been most inclined. That's how I first experienced God of War.
Boom.
Was through through the 2 collections, all of them at once.
Nice.
So that's how I did that. That's how I played Eco. I never played OG Eco. I mean, I played Shadow of the Colossus, but Eco, the HD collection, first time I played Eco was that way. So
it was like me with Gravity Rush 1.
Definitely. Oh yeah, a lot of people got it through the remaster thing. So those are perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm very willing. Like if I just missed out and I was like, oh, the fact that it's getting a remaster means they consider enough people love that game originally that they're re-releasing it. I should maybe give it a look this time around. Those are the ones I'm most inclined to do. Otherwise, it's a timing thing, and a lot of games, if they just take too long to address the issues, even when they go over unless, no matter how much they overhaul the game, it sometimes won't matter if it takes too long, with certain exceptions. Service-based games, or I guess the two examples I'd point to that are the exceptions that have worked are Diablo 3 and Final Fantasy 14. Those two took a while to get to the points where they were actually became like
best second
good
chances.
Yeah.
games.
Really
They're
good.
probably the two best examples of second chances going right, and that you should like go back and try those out.
And Rainbow Six even recently, Rainbow Six Siege.
Oh yeah, you were mentioning.
Yeah, but
something
Rainbow
right?
Six Siege wasn't trashed.
Yeah,
to begin
yeah,
with.
correct.
Yeah.
But other games that maybe aren't like that are more like single player, like solo experiences are short. Those I'm less inclined. Like, oh, we're gonna patch it, we're gonna fix the stuff in it, or they take too long. Like No Man's Sky right now. Like I don't know how it is right now, but it felt like they were just taking too long to address stuff and do anything with that. That was like, well, that ship has sailed for me. Like I just don't care about that at all to fix that. And the other one I'm gonna say is 15. Like for me, that ship sailed. Like especially if that game was like, I don't care if the Game of the Year edition comes out in December on PC and it's a whole different game with a new story and stuff. It's like you took too long for me. Like I thought like within 3 to 6 months everything would be out there. You're gonna fix it. You still only have you still haven't done that. Like you've put out one DLC thing, which is a totally separate thing. It's situational for me. Is like the short answer. And if you take too long, I'm less likely to be interested.
With either those service-based or sort of persistent games, like you mentioned with Diablo and Final Fantasy, how much do you think that the success that they had with that second chance was due solely because of the name and the fan base? Because you see a lot of these games, Evolve is a recent example, even think about APB or just other online games that don't have the same cachet as something like a Diablo or Final Fantasy. Do you think it's solely because of the name, or do you really think it's just because of the genuine effort that they put in on those two things, or is it a mixture of both?
I mean, I'm inclined to say mixture of both. I will acknowledge it, definitely a lot of the name recognition there, but it's because so much of the fan base is like we're trashing your game right now, but we didn't want it to be trash. We wanted this to be an amazing game and stuff, and then I think turn over to developers the concessions they made, being transparent. Like, yo, we screwed up. Like we understand this is not what you wanted. And here's a roadmap. Like they gave out information, and I think it was key that they would like they doled it out in like chunks. They were very transparent about it, and like it was clear they knew what was wrong. They weren't just saying like, oh, everyone said our game was bad, we're looking into it. They're like, no, we get it. This was all wrong, didn't work out. Here's how we're changing it. They just seem to have a really good plan of attack pretty soon after. They're like, okay, we know this game. Like with Square Enix, they apologize. Like, okay, listen, this game is bad. We get it. To start off, you're not paying any sub fees. This game is free to play until further notice, till we fix this stuff out, and blah blah blah. We're gonna, here's a roadmap of how we're gonna get to that, ultimately leading to a whole new version of the game. I think with 14 it was more. I was see it to believe it. It's like there's no way they're gonna overhaul this game and make a whole brand new MMO after it failing so spectacularly. This can't be possible. That was more of like to witness the spectacle, I feel. And in the word of mouth, when people started to play the early access and beta, or sorry, the beta periods, or no early access, but beta phases for 14, or Realm Reborn, people were like, holy crap. Like, I missed the first one, but everyone, like all my friends were like, yo, you need to check it out. And I remember the time, like, Miguel was like, yo, some of my friends, like, tried out the beta for 14. You reviewed the original. I was like, sounds like you have to try it out, man. Because I was against it. I was like, I'm not giving this game another chance. Like, they screwed up so badly. They can't make it good. And with Diablo, it wasn't a personal experience. It's everything I read about it because it mirrored 14 situations so similar. I was like, props to Blizzard for doing this. I thought that game was dead and going to be written off and it was, like, gone. Like, why couldn't they do this with StarCraft 2? I was like,
Well, I feel like Diablo, a big part of it was the auction house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like there's no like big thing about StarCraft 2 that you could just fix instantly. You know, or not instantly, but wholly.
That's what I think about Assassin's Creed Unity. I gave this game a second chance because I love Assassin's Creed, and that game came out a broken, buggy mess for a month, but they patched it. They made it work. They like nerfed some graphics, had some weird like pop in, but made it run and made it better. And to me, that's all it takes. It's like, they come out and they try to fix it. It's like, all right, it's not the best Assassin's Creed ever made. They can't obviously change the entire game. But if it was broken and they came out and fixed it at a reasonable time, then I'm totally cool with
Hubert, you have a rare heart, and I like it. You see so many people that just snap judgment. This is what it is. They write it off. You don't do that. You're willing to
give it a fair shake.
Despite all the trash.
And how much do we talk
getting.
about Fallout New Vegas?
Yeah.
It's like I've told you. It's like I would go back if we sit down. Like I'll go back and try it.
I dare you.
I just want to see it.
And
I think
told
you'll
him
like that
I like
game.
Fallout 4.
Okay.
After not liking 3 in Vegas, I still played Fallout 4. I like it.
Let's do it. Let's make that happen.
New Vegas.
Ben, that whole time I was trying to think of a game that I put on a shelf where I said, not now, and then picked up later. Could not think of it one example. I'm so sorry.
The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
You're never going back.
Never going
How
back.
is that possible? How is it possible? I don't understand.
I'm content. I'm content with the time I spent in Witcher 3. I'm not driven to see what happens.
There are so many things about it that you always love. Context, characters, story. It has it all, Kyle. Everything Kyle Bossman loves in video games, it has. What is the problem?
Huber, for story, you need to be pulled. You need to be compelled.
And you weren't.
I'm not compelled.
And you can't force that.
You can't force that.
You can't force it.
You can't. It's all about vibes, dude. It's all about vibes.
It hurts. It hurts. That one hurts me. That one will always hurt me, Kyle.
Yeah.
The Witcher 3.
I really Ben, I feel like there's got to be a game where I did that, but I can't think of it. What I could think of, Ben, are games where I said, no, that's too dorky, that's too lame, where later on in life I'm dorky enough to finally play it. Jack and Daxter.
Nice.
Oh.
When Jack and
You thought it
Daxter
was too
came out,
dorky.
that game is dorky. That is a dorky game. And then when the remaster came out, I played it and enjoyed that game.
What other games did you think were too dorky at the time?
I was trying to think of more.
Did you play
I know,
Preble
because I
when
knew
it
you came to
out?
Banjo-Kazooie much later. Did you think that was too dorky?
Just didn't have a Super Nintendo.
Sure.
Or a Nintendo 64,
Sure,
sorry.
sure.
No, there's definitely more, though. Like Pokemon Park Wii, where you're just Pikachu going around, or sick Pokemon Park. There's no way.
When you say that you have now reached a life where you are dorky enough, do you think this is an evolution?
This is an evolution.
Okay.
Heck yeah.
I like that. I like that.
You're willing to accept these things are not a representation of who you are, and they might be even, but you're comfortable with that.
So Kyle,
Yeah.
15 years from now,
Yeah.
could there be an evolution where you look back and you're like, oh, Geralt, I'll give him another shot?
Yeah, I'm finally dorky enough to enjoy The Witcher 3. I'm finally dorky enough to really want to be that guy.
We are very rapidly running out of time, and I do want to hit some emails. I'm sorry that I'm cutting this HOTTAKE short.
Well, we were kind of there.
We were kind of short. There's actually more I kind of want to talk
I
about
see.
dorkiness and perception, but
Sure.
maybe we'll morph that into another HOTTAKE. I do want to get to emails. There are some good ones this week. We'll have to very quickly go through these, unfortunately. Our first email comes in from Isaac. Isaac says, as soon as I write down this time code, Isaac says, we've all been burned by localization at one point or another. If you could have any 2 games released stateside, what would they be? Quick picks, quick hits.
Yakuza Ishin.
Okay? You got another one.
Dragon Quest 10.
Okay.
Done.
Kyle Mossman.
Skip, I feel like I got an answer for this, so let me pull it out. It's deep. It's deep in the back of the spine of my brain.
I've always wanted to play Doshin the Giant.
I don't even know what that is.
Yes.
I think it's also, I could be getting the name wrong on this. I think it's called Captain Rainbow on the Wii.
Let's go Captain Rainbow.
Captain Rainbow. I really want to play Captain Rainbow.
Those are masterful picks, Ben.
Okay. Cool.
You know what I thought of? I got one. I actually got one.
Yeah.
So one that I'd only played it this year is the Pokemon trading card game sequel for Game Boy Color. Played a fan-translated ROM of that.
Nice.
And so, yeah, there's ways to go around it.
There was a delightful experience, right?
Yep. Yeah. Bought that cart. It was worth it. Cool cart. And then the other one, I don't even know the name of it. This is the game where you're a prince who transforms into a snake that predates Link's Awakening, but is primarily the same team.
Oh, yeah, the Eiji Onuma's game.
Yeah, I want that game.
Can't remember it because I was trying to think of
This
a
isn't
game.
ringing.
You want me to look that up?
Now I was confused.
All right, I'll look it up
Now
while
I'm
Damiani
completely
does
like
this
have nothing. Crap. I was gonna say random Fire Emblem game, and it never came out here because
Sure.
I want more Fire Emblem.
Okay.
I apologize. Like I know there's something that I can think of that's better, but nothing's kind of in my head.
Sleuth it up. One other thing I want to give a quick plug to, Jason at Kotaku wrote this pretty fascinating article about 3 kids that localized Final Fantasy V, and I thought it was really cool and well presented, and I want to support that kind of stuff. So
Good
if you are
article.
interested, go check that out.
Valkyria Chronicles 3.
Yep, that was actually when I read this email.
Well
That's
done,
what I thought
Damiani.
of. Yeah,
Well
thank
done.
you, Damiani, for saying that.
Okay, ready?
Yes.
Keru no tame ni kane wa naru.
I can't remember the last part. I was.
What is that translated?
For frog, the bell tolls.
Yep.
Oh, and Suda's Fire Pro Wrestling.
Mm.
That's another one.
I've always heard such great things about those games. Never played them.
The game engine was reused for Link's Awakening. Oh, baby.
And there's an Easter egg in there.
So you know what? I'm gonna ROM that one up too. Probably.
There's also the Alien vs Predator beat 'em up, but it's arcade only. Arcade only beat 'em up. AVP, one of the best in the biz, where you can be the Predator or the human.
And he's got like a huge robot arm.
There's the human with the robot arm. There's like 2 different Predators. And
Cool
you're fighting
game.
aliens. It's
I wanna play
unbelievable.
this.
You can ROM it. That's honestly the only way, and I don't feel bad about it because it's arcade only.
Yep. I remember in college going over to visit my friend's college.
Yeah.
And they had an arcade cabinet that just, has every single game ever made.
And that's there.
And that concept to me was unheard of at that time.
Yeah.
Never seen this arcade game in my life. I was like, oh, you can play any game for free on this? And they're like, yeah, any game ever, dude. It was just in their lounge. Wow. Rochester Institute of Technology.
I remember when one of my friends modded their original Xbox. Like that was a hot thing at the time.
Yeah, dude.
And putting they're like every NES, Super NES game, so many arcade games on here. And he's like, look at this giant list. I was just blown away.
Yeah.
Spent the whole night just going through it. It's great. This next email, I love this a lot. This is one of my favorite emails that's ever been sent into Frame Trap. So Kenneth, there you go. Hello, allies. I've always found the concept of media blackout that some of the allies advocate to be an interesting one, trading the fun of participating in pre-release hype for a personal ritual intended to improve the experience later. I've linked below published results by 2 researchers at UC San Diego that suggest, curiously, that spoilers increase our enjoyment of stories.
No.
Over 800 participants rated short stories that had spoilers added at the beginning higher on average than the unspoiled versions, both during and after reading. Another result suggested that knowing the ending might allow readers to better focus on details and aesthetics and feel more pleasurable reading. What does the panel think of the idea that knowing what to expect increases enjoyment of what we experience in the moment? Do you think that the way you are affected by spoilers is different from most? Is the ritual of media blackout an irrational one? Science suggests spoilers.
Right, this is pointed.
It is very irrational.
Someone is wagging his finger at us, calling irrational is what you just
No,
pulled there.
I
That's
just
one of
said-
your favorite emails ever. Is
Yes.
Kenneth wagging his finger at
No,
us?
I just think because you guys are so adamant in your philosophy.
Okay, Kenneth.
Here's
Let's go, Kenneth.
here's research
Let's
that
go,
suggests.
baby.
All I'm asking is that maybe you consider another viewpoint. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus.
Yeah, they're definitely people like your former roommate, my roommate, like Simmons.
Yeah.
He loves like spoilers.
So
It
does
does
Jones.
not ruin anything for him.
Jones-
That guy like loves everything he sees, and he will read leak stuff and does not care. I don't know how he does it, but it's normal to him. But for me, like it says, like I'll give you a concrete example. one of my group of friends at a convention spoiled the end of season 1 of Game of Thrones right before the episode 9 was about to air. Ned Stark. I found out about it the week before. I had no idea it was coming. Person just casually was talking about it because they thought, oh, you're Game of Thrones, you're way ahead. I'm like, said so and so, this happens. I was like, that has to be a joke, right?
Right.
I came back to work then after that and asked Miguel, and he's like, dude, that is the season 1 spoiler. And I was like, when I watched the episode, there was no tension. Like, I was like, nope.
Yeah, but you were paying more attention to the details of that episode, Damiani.
Not really. I was just like,
no, this is science. Science says you're paying more attention to the details.
Kyle, I understand your disgruntledness.
I think a book is way different, though.
I
The
do
book
for
is
short story.
It's probably different.
But I think there are different tiers of spoilers, and I do think spoiler sensitivity has gotten a little absurd.
For sure.
Because
irrational.
There are some games where it's like, no, like there's a huge story here. I'm not spoiling major revelations. I'm not spoiling like really emotional scenes. I'm just giving you this fun little interaction to give you a sense of the world, to give you a sense of the characters.
Yeah.
It does not have a huge consequence, and people are like, oh my god, I can't believe you ruined this entire game for me. Nah. Sometimes I feel like that response lacks the perspective of no, like we're not necessarily ruining the thing, we're just trying to paint a picture using a small detail.
Sure, but if you're 100% in, if you're going to play that game regardless,
right,
it is better within the game's context,
right,
than somebody explaining it to you ahead of time, I believe.
I agree with that.
So like, here's my thing. Here's movies. A movie is designed, it's written, it's directed and edited in a way where you don't know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. The weird thing is you watch trailers, you see the bad guy. And in a movie, you see like the ankle of the bad guy first. You see this long reveal of the bad guy. It's so weird to me. We just accept that like that's pointless. The director says, okay, this is the reveal. This is the first time the viewer will see my bad guy.
Right.
When in fact, no, they saw it. They saw the enemy, that bad guy on the cover of Entertainment Weekly. That's so weird to me that we just kind of like roll with it. It's so much better to be along the ride of what the director wants, of what the writer has written.
Because when the character, say it's like Spider-Man or whatever, when Spider-Man first sees Vulture or whatever in the movie, that's probably a big moment for Spider-Man, for Peter Parker. He's like, whoa, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
And we go in sitting down like, oh, okay, we know Vulture's coming. Like,
pretty much the entirety of the Phantom Pain is in those trailers.
Yes. When I went back to watch those trailers,
it is
I was shocked.
insane.
You remember how hardcore the blackout was?
That was the
5?
best blackout of all time.
That was the most hardcore one.
Yeah.
That was brutal.
Yeah. I went off the grid for months. Like,
you said, Huber,
off the internet.
that now, and it really, a while later, once I started watching more movie trailers, I was like, Huber's totally right, where you're like, they're spoiling the entire movie in these trailers.
It's gotten too bad.
It's gotten really terrible. And so it's a confusing thing because I do think media companies are being worse about it. They're being more desperate. They're being more liberal with what they're showing. And so I guess, in a sense, I understand the increased sensitivity, but if you've made that decision to be like, this is sacred to me, so sacred that I don't even want you to look in my direction if you have experienced
don't look
it.
at me. Yeah.
I think the onus is on you to
100%.
take responsibility
we
for
accept that.
Yeah.
We accept that.
I'm never mad at anyone.
And that's why I like you guys, because you do accept that.
We know we're crazy.
But people who have that feeling,
Yeah.
when they're like, you described something, you described how the combat is, I hate you forever, that to me feels irrational. Mm-hmm. And that to me is not taking responsibility for your decision.
It's a comment I will always skip.
Right.
I got a complaint in the Outlast 2 review from talking about the premise. They said it was a spoiler.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm just thinking, like, if you don't even want to know the premise, why...
You don't watch that review?
Yeah,
right.
I don't...
Just stay away, man.
Yeah.
So, to answer the question, no, it is not irrational to go on media blackout. It is irrational to be offended by spoilers if you kind of walked into it on your own.
Well said. With that... Kenneth, I liked your email. I stand by what I said.
I like it, Kenneth.
You know what? Honestly, and I think it starts off, Ben. Sorry. I know you're closing us up.
Yeah.
And I know we got to stream in 2 minutes.
Right.
I think it's a little bit of a social element. Kenneth, at the beginning, talked about the enjoyment of being excited.
Yeah.
As an antisocial person, I don't feel that desire as much to want to share in that excitement ahead of time. Mm-hmm. I want to watch that movie with my hood up, just being in my own zone, in my own world. I play by myself. I really don't care to share those things.
I think
Kyle,
about TV too. TV spoilers are insane now.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I don't understand, like, because Because when something huge happens on a TV show, I feel like the whole world knows it. It's like, oh, this week something huge goes down. Ned Stark dying. The whole world knew. And if you know that, like, you can avoid spoilers, but still know something is going down. And I do think that diminishes the tension, because there's nothing like finding out, in this episode of Game of Thrones, like, Hodor is gonna hold this door, that stuff.
But the thing is, people love to share that, and that's not bad. It's not bad they love to share that. It's just another element of, okay, sorry, Ben.
No, it's a good thing to bring up. You know what the problem is you bring in this whole psychological personality type argument, which is really good and deserves exploration. I know. That's something we're talking about. It's something we're talking about. It's good. It's good. You know what? We should revisit this.
Part 2.
We should revisit this email.
Yep.
There'll be a part 2 to this email. I think we feel strongly enough about spoilers and the culture surrounding them and how we accept them that I think it's okay to revisit this. So expect that, hopefully on the next Frame Trap. I'm sorry to cut this short. I don't want to be the bad guy here. These are good, but we have to stream in actually 2 minutes. So thank you all for watching. You want more of us, you know where to go. Until next time.